Hello, everybody, and welcome to The Night Owl, a show that we do twice a week where we discuss all the latest in pop culture news, TV and movie reviews, and just general conversations of the day. For those who don't know me, I am Price of Reason, and with me, as always, is my co host, Professor R2. How's it going, Professor?
Well, doing all right. Lots of just wild, out of the just out of nowhere news today. So we've got some interesting things to talk about.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on. It is an interesting time. Yeah, there's a lot of strange things happening all in the same day. Uh, it's never boring, really. I think that we have yet to have like a show that we do that we're just saying, you know what, there's nothing to talk about.
Yeah, not these days. Plenty of stuff going on. Plenty of things to talk about.
For sure.
Even if Hollywood is falling apart and the games industry is collapsing, all
Absolutely.
of that stuff. Hey, still things, still interesting things to talk about there. So yeah, where do we want to start today?
Where do we want to start? Well, I guess let's look at our thing. For starters, we have. Okay, so the embracement of new media. I don't know if you
Yeah,
saw that. There's been a lot of things going on because I think it all started when it didn't all start with this, but recently it all started when the Gulf of Mexico, when Trump said it was the Gulf of America, and he did the executive order renaming it, and then I guess when the Associated Press, who themselves don't always have the most stellar reputation for being unbiased, they decided that they're not going to follow that, and they're going to call it the Gulf of Mexico. And I guess he decided that if that's the case, then they don't have to be at the White House. And I think that they tried to do some kind of legal move against him, but I feel like that move didn't actually work, and that they're the White House isn't obligated to let him sit there. And this was interesting because you even had people like Newsmax and things that are on different side of the political aisle saying, you know what, yeah, they should be able to be there. Like people that would surprise you were actually trying to, lend their support to them. But instead, what ended up happening is that the White House basically today said, you know what, we're going to now make sure that there's new media. We'll still let the legacy media, be there. And the fact that they're really standing there on that podium, that Levitt lady is standing on the podium and talking about legacy media, really, it's whether it's indirect or direct, I don't know how to explain it, but it really paints this picture that these older news organizations are considered dinosaurs, and that there's really a shift in policy here, and just a cultural shift, maybe that we started seeing during the elections, and we're seeing it even more now. I think you and I have known about this shift for years because we've been online doing our thing for a while. But I think that more regular people, when it comes to these kind of White House briefings, the fact that there's such a shift, it does mean something.
yeah, it's been kind of interesting seeing. I think in previously, obviously, we had the Biden administration. They had shut a whole bunch of different groups out of even the press room, not just saying, "Oh, you don't get a seat in Air Force One." You don't get to visit the Oval Office. Like shut them out of the press room completely. And a lot of people were very alarmed by that. That oh, there's all these different conservative outlets that they're not going to get to come back. And now, when we get Donald Trump, he's now in office, and now they're honestly, I think it's kind of a mistake. I really do. To politicize this stuff. Now, they have not told them that they're not allowed in the press room. They have taken some seats that were previously given to establishment press and now set seats aside for new media, which is fascinating. I think he knows that that's one of the ways that he's going to be able to reach out to people in some new demographics, right? Especially some of those that helped him to win the election. To say, "Oh, AP, this it's a really big, group." I mean, if those out there don't know what AP is, Associated Press, it's essentially a pool of different resources they put into different newsrooms and different areas to cover things, and then like your local newspaper, they don't have somebody who's going to be going to cover the White House, right? So they have
Right.
to rely on other news agencies like like the AP or Reuters in order to cover those things, and then they republish those in local papers, or they're used for local news coverage so that they can have a national or even international perspective. And to take a large agency like that and say, no, you're shut out. That's I don't know. I'm not sure I'm real pleased with that. I think I do agree with some of the other news agencies that were essentially saying, let's not play that game. Let's not do what Biden did and kind of shut out some voices that maybe don't agree with you politically. Let's bring them in and let them continue to cover stuff. If their coverage is biased or whatever, then hopefully other news agencies are going to be able to cover that in a fairer way, and those people who are covering things unfairly, who are covering things in a biased manner, will get called out, right?
Right.
So yeah, I understand. I mean, Trump is frankly, he's capricious, right? He can make
Right.
decisions, for whatever reason. He made this thing about the Gulf of America, Gulf, whatever, instead of the Gulf of Mexico. Uh, Technically, yes, he made the executive order. That means that federal agencies, US based agencies, have to recognize that as the Gulf of America, but the actual naming of that body of water is in international treaty, and that has not been addressed yet. So if you actually look at the groups that are responsible for naming those things internationally, according to treaty, it's still called the Gulf of Mexico, right? So
Right.
it's a little strange to just be like, you're out of here because you won't say the words I want you to say, right? I That makes me a little uncomfortable.
I understand. But I mean, I guess it's a slippery slope or whatever you want to call it. On the one hand, even though it seems to almost be like I don't know if to use the word childish, but it's like, oh, I said it and they didn't do it. On the other hand, you have these kind of news organizations that for 4 years now have been very kind of deceptive about a lot of things. They purposely misrepresented things. They I'm not saying that the other way around. It doesn't mean that somebody from another political viewpoint can't do that. But I really feel like we've had a number of years where, first of all, maybe during his first presidency and then during the Biden presidency, that they weren't exactly being unbiased in a lot of situations, and in some cases, really actively engaging. Uh, there's a point that you report on the news, and there's a point where you're trying to be the news or make the news. And I think that we saw some things that were very unacceptable for years now. But with all of that being said, I agree with you, and I understand why some of these Newsmax and people said, you know, it's like they didn't think that they should remove their seat, even if they don't like what they're reporting,
Yeah,
and I can understand that as well. But
yeah.
it just so happens that I guess legally, Trump isn't obligated to let them be there. So,
No, no, not
it,
at all. It is a privilege. It's a privilege to be allowed there. And again, Pyromancer, kind of mentioned something here in the chat on Rumble, and I kind of said this before. Maybe I didn't say it, quite the same way, but they're not actually shut out of like regular press briefings. They're not like shut out of the press room or anything. It's specifically some of the other areas, the more restricted areas, like being allowed into the Oval Office, which is a fairly small space for a lot of different news agencies to be squeezing in there, and then Air Force One. But then again, it is a very large news group. And they cover things for a lot of other uh, a lot of other newspapers, stations, so on. So it seems odd to shut them out of that when but at the same time, yeah, I mean, they he has every right to just decide who's going to be there, and if they're not going to be there, the reporting can come from somebody else. So Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's I can understand why some people were trying to sort of protect them, and at the same time, if he has based on the rules, he can do that. He can make that decision, and if they try to do some kind of legal action and they lost, then again, it's also I think he's sending a signal here, but at the same time, it shouldn't be a situation that people can't criticize him. You know, now you kind of think to yourself, you'll say something that he doesn't like, and then you could be gone. Uh,
Exactly. Yeah. And that's kind of a hostile. I mean, it's not a hostile work environment, but you know what I mean. It's a hostile environment when it comes to reporting, right? It's very strange. By the way, we just got a gift of 10 Price of Reason Live memberships from the Big Ship over on YouTube.
the
So,
ship,
yes, thank you once again, Big Ship, big supporter of the
the big
channel. Thank
ship is
you.
awesome. Big
Yeah.
ship shows up and just does something really great, and then yeah, I would say
Yeah.
disappears, but no, then hangs out with us. So, yeah,
Yeah.
no, that's really great stuff. I appreciate that a lot, the big ship. It's
Yeah.
nice
Thank you,
to
Big Ship. We also have a super chat from the Dead Man for
also
$5. Yes.
also
Also,
awesome, the dead
yeah.
man.
Sentiment appreciated. He says, Price, I watched your KK stream today. You went from talking about how great your memory is, then immediately said, "What was I talking about?"
It was a very late see, I don't know if you even know, Professor. What happened was is, like, I noticed last night I was doing something and it was already, like, 2 a.m., and I realized that Kathleen Kennedy was out, and I thought initially maybe to do a video or something that's more, like, formal and edited. Then I thought maybe I'll just do these kind of quicker videos that I'm just going through an article, just briefly talking, and I'll upload something like that very quickly. And then I just said, I don't even have time for this. It's one of those things that it means something in that moment, but I felt like already the next day there would be 70 people talking about it. So it was 2 a.m. and I just, I thought of just, I didn't even think anybody would be there at 2 a.m. It was maybe 2:30. I don't even know. So I just started to stream that I'm just talking about that one article, and suddenly there was just more people. I think less people than what we have now, but there were a surprising there were a surprising amount of people, and then people were already asking me questions, and I was really I was rather tired myself, so I tried my best to answer the questions, and then yes, there was a part that I said that I had a good memory, and then I couldn't remember what I was talking about. That actually did happen. And then, yeah, I left, instead I don't know if you saw, I left it that there's, like, that Kathleen Kennedy is out. On the live stream channel, there's a little, like, thumbnail where I don't know. It was an experiment. I have no idea if anybody watched it.
I did not.
It's okay. You didn't miss
I
much.
didn't I didn't have the time. I just, I guess, Tuesdays and Thursdays are real busy days for me, and,
No, it was
when
it
I
was
got
a
up
rare
earlier today and I didn't s I saw it. I saw that it was posted in there. I haven't had time to watch basically anything on YouTube today, so
honestly, if it wasn't like that for years we've been reporting on the Kathleen Kennedy thing and that supposedly she's out and it was announced like so late. Like I think people were sharing this at like 1 a.m. and I was actually I was doing something. So I before like 2:30, I couldn't even do anything. And then the next thing was if I wake up in the morning and then immediately do in the morning, I'm like, you know what? I don't feel like it. I'll just do a quick stream. But it was a rarity. That's like that's a very special kind of you know how I was saying that on the stream. You know how when we were kids, suddenly there would be like, we interrupt this usual programming because the president wants to say something, and then like you'd have the president talking. That's what this like event was. Like Kathleen Kennedy stepping down. It was worth like doing, however silly, and even if it was like basically talking to myself, at least something to commemorate that.
yeah.
It
Yeah.
wasn't in prime time
Understood.
though.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I have, I'm trying to share this thing. Let's see. Did I share it?
There was something shared and then it disappeared on me. So, yeah, there we go.
Okay. So let's try this.
As you all know, for decades, a group of DC based journalists, the White House Correspondents Association, has long dictated which journalists get to ask questions of the President of the United States in these most intimate spaces. Not anymore. I am proud to announce that we are going to give the power back to the people who read your papers, who watch your television shows, and who listen to your radio stations. Moving forward, the White House press pool will be determined by the White House press team. Legacy outlets who have participated in the press pool for decades will still be allowed to join, fear not, but we will also be offering the privilege to well-deserving outlets who have never been allowed to share in this awesome responsibility. Just like we added a new media seat in this briefing room, legacy media outlets who have been here for years will still participate in the pool, but new voices are going to be welcomed in as well. As part of these changes, we will continue the rotation amongst the 5 major television networks to ensure the president's remarks are heard far and wide around this world. We will add additional streaming services which reach different audiences than traditional cable and broadcast. This is the ever-changing landscape of the media in the United States today. We will continue to rotate a print pooler who has the great responsibility of quickly transcribing the president's remarks and disseminating them to the rest of the world. And we will add outlets to the print pool rotation who have long been denied the privilege to partake in this experience, but are committed to covering this White House beat. We will continue to rotate a radio pooler and add other radio hosts who have been denied access, especially local radio hosts who serve as the heartbeat of our country. And we will add additional outlets and reporters who are well suited to cover the news of the day and ask substantive questions of the President of the United States, depending on the news he is making on that given day.
See, the thing is, the reason why I have mixed feelings about this is that there's 2 things going on here. One, I agree that it's too long that the legacy media got the only seat at the table there. They could do whatever they want, and then people that are considered more new media, and I even say that about ourselves, that we're sort of independent in what we do, people like us weren't given a seat at the table. And the fact that somebody is saying, you know what, we got to give more people and different types of people also a seat at the table, I like that. And the fact that they're still giving like the legacy media whatever, that's fine too. The only thing is that the way the chain of events that led to those AP people getting booted out, there's something about it that's still, a bit concerning, even though it's like the bottom line doesn't bother me, the way we got to that bottom line kind of does. Meaning
Yeah.
I have no tears like shed. I'm not shedding any tears for the AP. You know what I mean? Like, really, like I have no sentiments towards them. It's just a matter of doing things the right way. That's also what the same thing that I told you sometime recently, that I was saying that a lot of the things that Elon Musk is doing, I think are positive, but it's also fair to point out that he has a lot of power, and as people said in the chat here, that with great power comes great responsibility. So you always just want to make sure that if things are being done, that there's still other voices that could say something.
Absolutely. Yeah. And
Just as a matter of principle,
Yeah.
not that I don't understand that there's people, the AP really, they do a lot of stuff like that. It's not that I don't understand why they would be considered annoying. And Elon Musk, even with his Doge stuff, ran into a lot of kind of legal lawfare and weird things like that. It's not that I don't understand that either. But I guess what I'm saying is, in whatever kind of political war we're in the middle of now, it's also important to still remember some things that I think are still important.
Yeah, absolutely. It's there are, as it says, there was pretty strict control over who was allowed in the press room for a long time, and essentially it was the press itself. It was a group of the most elite press deciding who got a seat and when they got a seat and if they got blocked out of the press room or whatever. It's kind of strange. And so this move, they kind of started this actually like over a month ago. It started not long after Trump first took office. They started saying they were going to start offering, seats to new media. but and also said there were, I think it was like 400 journalists that were banned by the previous administration. They said they could come back. So it's interesting. Again, the AP being such a large news agency, kind of, blocking them out of certain areas. They're not missing out on the press briefings, the biggest things. They still get to ask questions there, but saying no, you're not going to be on Air Force One. No, you're not going to be in the Oval Office. That I mean, I don't know. It feels to me like a slippery slope, right?
It is a slippery slope, and the thing is that they it's almost like somebody was looking for a reason. Like the second they didn't do the Gulf of America and Gulf of Mexico, it was almost it's not that they had the best thing going for them or the best relationship or whatever you want to call it prior. Maybe they should have approached that Gulf of Mexico thing differently. Even if
Mhm.
they would have said, like, in the articles that in the U.S. it's now like based on executive order referred to the Gulf of America. Although, like what you said, that internationally it's still not something that's been cemented. But I think that probably their lack of nuance in the way they explain this put them in a problematic situation.
And I also think that I think that perhaps you may be right. Someone was looking for an excuse
Yeah, I
to
mean,
say like, "Oh, sorry, you didn't kowtow, so now you're gone," right? And
right.
and and on one side, that seems kind of brilliant, like almost like we set this up as a way to get you kicked out of the
Whole
newsroom.
Gulf of America was one big setup,
It
like a
was
loyalty test. You don't say
exactly.
Gulf of America, you're out. It's kind of
Beat it.
funny. I mean, it amuses me, and at the same time, like I said, uh, it's a news organization that I myself am not necessarily like uh, too sad about or anything like that. I have got no sentiments here, but still, there is something like we said. There's two sides to everything, and I try to look as much as I can at two sides. And I've said before, probably now I'm kind of like Kamala in her middle class comment in the elections, that I often say here that I consider myself a rather middle of the road type of guy. These days, when you're middle of the road, you're kind of pushed to be in a position that's more political than maybe you want it to be. But I can see things from a few different angles
Mhm.
if pressed, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. You know, and honestly, I think that is the most I really want to ask of anybody, left, right, center, to at least be open to examine issues, not just accept them at face value or automatically be 100% against them just because who those things came from, right? Like, to at least have some intellectual curiosity, be willing to entertain some ideas that maybe didn't come from your side, quote unquote, right? Like,
Right,
I really wish that we could get back to that. We had that for a lot of years, and until it's kind of the early 2000s, and especially after Obama took office, that we continued to have this more and more polarized electorate, more and more polarized society in America, where now it's like, oh, if you're not with us, you're against us, kind of thing. And it's extremely frustrating. It's extremely frustrating. You can't have a conversation with people anymore. You can't sit down and say, oh, here's how I think about it, because then they're like, racist. Like, no,
right.
I'm not a racist. I'm saying that maybe I don't agree with what we've been doing, or oh no, you're a phobe, or you're mustache man. And it's like, whatever.
Yeah. I feel like the whole mustache man, they've so I mean that people throw around mustache man so easily these days.
Oh yeah, I mean it's gotten ridiculous. They
They kind of cheapen what that whole thing was. I mean, there was really something very bad that happened, and they've trivialized it so much with using that term. so much. Not to mention that sometimes you just have like strange, wacky people. I feel like I don't want to even give him the space here, but like a certain rapper who is, as Vex Electronica would say, dent headed. The rapper that loves the Mustache Man is something that really have trouble understanding that one, because if the Mustache Man saw that rapper that loves him, that rapper would cease to exist.
Yeah.
Do you get what I mean? Like
Oh,
that
yes, I
is
know exactly what you mean.
it almost reminds me of that Dave Chappelle skit, that classic skit of the guy who's like the black guy that's part of that go white ghost association.
Yes.
So I don't know that that's what's become of that like rapper, which really I understand that people can claim that he has mental issues and he needs to be on his meds. And the only thing is that when a guy is like that and he has like $1 billion, that's usually like a rather dangerous combination.
It is indeed. Do you know what Godwin's law is?
What is
You
it?
ever heard of Godwin's law? So this was actually it's a there was an author. He was also a lawyer. Uh, Mi- Michael Mike Godwin. I can't remember. But anyway, he came up with this idea during news group discussions, like on Usenets, like back in the '90s when the internet first came around. And essentially, Godwin's law tells us that any online discussion, as the longer it goes on, the greater the probability is of someone comparing their opposition to the Mustache Man or his party. And so you no, not Goodwin's law, Arjun, Godwin's law. Yeah, I'm not sure what Goodwin's law is, but yeah, it has to do with something about talking about old cars or something like that. But no, yeah, Goodwin. So Goodwin's law is like, the more we have an online discussion, the greater and greater the chances are that now somebody starts calling somebody a
But
Nazi,
by
right?
the way, I have to say that Vex Electronic, I just mentioned her name and suddenly she appeared. Hey Vex, how's it going? I'm so moved by the fact that she's not sleeping. She once told me that in order to go to sleep, she puts on our stream. That's I guess that's like instead of a sleeping aid. Instead of a sleeping aid, she enjoys us talking so that she can fall asleep. I don't know if I understood it, but that was the general gist of it. So yeah, and I agree with what you were saying, and yes, it's ridiculous how that whole thing has just been abused. I don't know what other word to use, but i I think that the problem with it is that because people just throw those things around, when something bad actually happens, nobody takes it seriously anymore.
Yeah. Well, with the thing is, like, Godwin's law thought up in the 1990s, early 2000s when when it was thought about. Now it's like, uh, it's almost like if you played video games back in the 90s, early 2000s, there was this joke about time to barrels or time to crates. Like, how far are you going to get into the game before you run into some either some barrels or crates? Because those were like everywhere in Doom and everything like that. It's almost like we've rushed to see how quickly we can get the time to Nazi, right? Time to Mustache Man. How quickly can we get there in our argument? Can just one sentence. Great. You're automatically one sentence in, you're going to start calling everyone Mustache Man. So it's kind of embarrassing. It's quite sad actually that that just gets thrown around so much.
Vex Electronica says, "Bro, I was doom scrolling Twitter because of all the hilarious gamer discourse, and here I am."
Oh, there is some very hilarious gamer discourse this evening.
Argentum, it's because you and the professor are so chill. Well, that's good. I mean, I like the fact that we're chill. I actually do think that for a late night show, us being chill actually works. Some people may watch us like in the morning, but you know what? Even in the morning when you're getting up, maybe some people in the morning when they're getting up, they want to like those kind of very loudmouth type of announcers. But I feel like this is like a one size fits all. It's either kind of in the evening, getting later, and you just want something that's talking about stuff, but kind of like more relaxing. Or even in the morning, you want to ease into your day. You don't want to. You're in England or something, or wherever people
We're,
are
we're
listening.
at 5 a.m. Smilex. Yes.
So yeah, basically, what was I gonna say? That how did we get it? How did
Well,
we get?
we were just talking about how just discourse has just gotten so out of hand, and
Yes. And then that brings us to our next, because we were talking about people that are like, removed now from the White House, or there's a shift now to include more independent sources. I wanted to say that I feel like also behind the scenes, there's things that are changing, even within the legacy media. Perhaps the legacy media are starting to understand that they're the legacy media. I think that Joy Reid being fired, maybe that's a symptom of this tide that's turning. I think at least it's possible, because Joy Reid was fired. I don't know if you know a bit more about it than I do, but I know that in the past, every time I'd see her takes, they were very annoying. She has a history of saying a lot of stupid things, and I don't know. I don't really sit around and listen to her all day. I assume that maybe there was somebody that did, but to me, I really, there's something about her that I've always found rather unlikable. That's my own personal sentiment. So again, no sentiments here. I don't care that she was fired, but uh, I don't know. How do you feel about it?
oh, I'm glad that there's one less completely brain dead, just borderline psychotic voice off the air. I'm sure she's gonna go and try and do a Megan Kelly and start her own YouTube channel and everything. But she's not on the airwaves. It'll be her little tiny group of people watching her on YouTube, and it's gonna be embarrassing. Yeah. Oh, she is just the worst. She was horrible. She said some of the just most race baity, unhinged stuff. I wonder if we can find like a compilation of some of her just
I
absolutely cringe things that she said.
I wonder if there. First of all, there's a video that she was very upset that she was fired, I guess, and then here somebody did something. I have no idea what we're about to watch, but I'm gonna share it anyways. Let's see what it is. Um, I think that this will probably be helpful to bringing our point here. Okay.
There's a thing about both white vigilantism and white tears, particularly male white tears. Really white tears in general, because that's what Karens are, right? They Karen out, and then as soon as they get caught, it's like, green waterworks. White men can get away with that too, and it has the same effect.
My show had value, and that I'm sorry that that what I was doing had value, and in the end, I'm sorry, I try not to cry on TV.
There's a thing about both white
Yeah, I think
vigilantism.
basically she doesn't seem as kind of overconfident and cocky now that she's been let go. And yes, she used to say a lot of stupid things, so don't really have anything to say about her. I just wonder, because there was this other thing that then there was with Megan Kelly, that she said something about her, and then it got even wackier. I don't know if you saw all the things that led, all the ins and outs of this, but where I thought that Megan Kelly's. Okay, maybe this is it.
Oh, I can't. There we go.
Fired over the weekend because she's a racist, horrible news anchor with no ratings, and that's really been the truth for a long time. MSNBC's under new management, and I guess they decided to come to grips with reality. The truth is, this is very sad news for us, as she's provided so much material over the years. I feel the way I felt when Brian Stelter got fired, but he came back, and you never know. I'm sure Joy Reid will wind up doing something where we will continue to get to respond to her absolutely insane POV. The big news.
So then you had, where was it? See, until this moment, I didn't even know he even does anything anymore. Don Lemon, like, does anybody even care about him?
Well, I certainly don't.
No, but the thing is, the thing is that somebody like Don Lemon, when he went on his own, except for now when he was talking about Megyn Kelly, so probably got viewership, I don't think that there's, you know, they don't have such large followings online. Not Don Lemon, not like Joy Reid. They were really, really counting on this kind of legacy media. Whereas, Megyn Kelly, like her or not, at some point, because they got rid of her from the kind of the legacy media, she was booted out there. I think very early on she understood the power of online news reporting and built a following, which was actually smart, because I think she was sort of ahead of the curve because she kind of read the map sooner than some other people. But Don Lemon, it's not a map that I think he can read or learn. I just don't think he has that kind of fan base. Could be wrong. Let's see.
So let me just say to Megyn Kelly, in my 30-some years as a journalist and my 50-some years as a person of color, go fuck yourself. Okay? I usually don't like to talk about her because she's one of those people, she thrives on it. She has built the second part of whatever of her career on being a troll. So this is what Megyn Kelly said about Joy Reid, right? And remember, Joy Reid is a woman, Megyn Kelly is a woman. She's supposed to be all about women and, supports women. Okay, so this is what she said. Remember when Joy Reid laughingly mocked white women tears as pathetic and offensive to her? Who's crying now, Joy? Good riddance to the absolute worst person on television, and shame on NBC for letting it go on this long. And she has she is an axe to grind when it comes to MSNBC. And also, this whole, she's racist, right? It's just, I'm going to give you the evidence.
Oh, time to racist. What was that? Like,
really learned from it and then spent every day after apologizing for it and being fired for it, then spent every day proving the point that she is a racist. And not very supportive of women. If you look, all you have to do, the evidence is in her Google search and what she says about women and how she calls them out all the time. The worst person. No, Megyn Kelly. The worst person on television was fired from NBC in the Today Show a few years ago, and that's Megyn Kelly. That's the worst person who's not on television anymore. Is you. That's the worst person who's not on television. So hurrah for that. NBC did something good with that. You know why? I like to give proof of things, evidence. Like when I said Donald Trump, the president of the United States, was racist, it wasn't my opinion. This isn't my opinion about Megyn Kelly. The evidence is there. I'm going to show you the evidence of Megyn Kelly, and that's just as I showed you the evidence of Donald Trump.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe he'll build a following of some people, but I certainly don't.
Somehow I don't think that's going to be the case. Do you want to know how many views his live stream got today?
How much?
54,000. Do you want to know how many views Megyn Kelly's live stream got?
Probably millions.
4.5 million.
I believe that.
Yeah, I don't think he's talking to too many people that actually have any kind of any kind of real clout or any real power. Yeah, your tiny little following. I mean, granted, hell, we would love to have 54,000.
Right, but considering that this guy had access to all of America, to hundreds of millions of people for like 20 years or something, I think that the fact that at the end he's sitting there and he's not exactly, really conquering the online waves or whatever you want to say it, like how you want to explain it. But yeah, it's less than what you would expect for somebody seemingly of his high profile stature within the media. You'd think that there would be more people. And I think that maybe even Joy Reid would have less people. Hypnocrap says, when are we getting our space fish merch? Before we do that, I want to make sure I saw all the super chats, because I feel like a few things happened. There was, first of all, that Dead Man one for $5. Price, I Watch Your KK Stream. That's the one we went over. Then I think there was another one. There was the big ship with the 10 gifted memberships, which we really appreciate. And
Yes,
then
Dead
we
Man had
had
another one.
another
Follow-up.
$2 one. Another $2 one from the Dead Man where he said, then you talked about Teen Wolf for a bit, LOL. Yes, we did talk about Teen Wolf. And the reason we talked, I don't even know how we got to Teen Wolf. Somebody was talking about Teen Wolf 2. Man, that was a weird late night conversation. I don't know how we got to Teen Wolf 2 being not such a good movie with Jason Bateman. And yes, I don't know how we even got there. But what were you going to show, Professor?
Oh, so this is just a lovely little compilation here. I'm not sure how long we'll be able to stand it, but oh, hold on, I got to find my
Do
tab
it.
here again. Got to find my tab. Let's see.
But I appreciate my haters as well, because hating is it's a type of fandom.
Here's everything you need to know about the firing of star MSNBC host and outspoken Trump critic Joy Reid, who, according to President Donald Trump, should have been canned long ago with everyone else who works there. Reid has been a fixture at the left-leaning cable news network since 2011 and began hosting the weekend talk show AM Joy in 2016. The very next year, she was forced to address a series of decade-old posts on her personal blog, The Reid Report, in which she expressed disgust about men kissing and gay marriage. She initially claimed she had been hacked, but finally apologized a year later in June 2018.
Oh, I forgot all about the hacking thing. Oh yeah, I was hacked.
She said the craziest stuff and all
Oh,
that
it's
quote unquote
insane. Yeah.
hacking stuff. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I had almost completely forgotten about that. Yeah. Oh no, I was hacked. I didn't write that stuff. Yeah. No, you totally did. You lying piece of whatever.
MSNBC stood by her side throughout the ordeal.
I genuinely do not believe I wrote those hateful things because they are completely alien to me. But I can definitely understand, based on things I have tweeted and have written in the past, why some people don't believe me.
The scandal marked the beginning of a rocky tenure at MSNBC, with the host racking up a series of cringe-inducing on-air controversies. In 2020, Reid mocked police officers who declined to get the COVID-19 vaccine.
So for putting Americans in danger, officers and unions who are fighting against vaccine mandates, which essentially means fighting to make the public sick, are tonight's absolute worst.
In 2022, she compared Floridians fleeing the Sunshine State in the wake of Hurricane Ian to waves of illegal immigrants crossing the U.S. border.
Be careful about attacking people who have to move to save their own lives and safety, because you never know when it's your people that have to move, when it's your people who have to migrate, when it's your people who have to get on that road.
And in 2024, claimed that Republicans were voting based on, quote, racial animus.
They're increasingly, from the Tea Party on, they're voting on race. They're voting on this idea of an invasion of brown people over the border. The idea that they can't get whatever job they want. A black person got it, therefore drive all the blacks out of the colleges.
In the lead up to Donald Trump's second term in the White House, Reid condemned the white Christians who supported him in the Iowa caucuses, claiming they want non-whites to bow down to them.
None of that matters when you believe that God has given you this country, that it is yours, and that everyone who is not a white conservative Christian is a fraudulent American.
Later that year, she claimed on TikTok that black people would look real weird for not voting for former Vice President Kamala Harris in the November election.
You're going to look real crazy being on the other side of that line, particularly as a person of color. But really as anyone who claims to have any connection to the culture.
And she argued that Harris voters should avoid Thanksgiving dinner with their Trump voting relatives.
Well, here's an alternative thought. Make your own dinner, MAGA. Make your own sandwiches. Wipe your own tears. Troll amongst yourselves with Elon and leave us alone.
In December, Nielsen Media Research revealed that Reid, who earned a lofty $3 million annual salary, had lost almost half her viewers since the election, with MSNBC as a whole seeing a whopping 53% drop in primetime viewership following the November 5th outcome. After network president Rashida Jones left MSNBC in January 2025, Rebecca Cutler was tapped to helm the struggling network, where ratings have consistently trailed behind Fox News. Roughly a month later, Reid's show was canceled. President Donald Trump wasted no time reveling in the news, claiming on his Truth Social platform that MSNBC should pay vast sums of money for the unpardonable sin it has done to the country. He has also openly celebrated Reid's firing, describing her as one of the least talented people in television and as a mentally obnoxious racist. MSNBC's 7 p.m. time slot, previously hosted by Reid, will be replaced by a new panel show featuring co-hosts Alicia Menendez, Michael Steele, and Simone Sanders Townsend.
Well, I'm sure that will be a fair and balanced coverage of the news coming from.
I think they should pay us
MSNBC.
$3 million a year.
I'd take it.
I'm willing to split it with you. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like I
Okay,
don't even
yeah.
need the full 3 mil. Like I am very happy if they give us 3 million and we split it. I'm going to be honest with you, 1 million and we split is also good.
Yeah, we can make that work.
Or just like a Big Mac and like a large beverage, that would be cool too.
I keep all the merchandising rights.
You're George Lucasing me. Okay. Somebody asked if they're good, there'll be merch. You know what? I'll try to think of something. That would be cool. Yeah. It's weird because I think that I'm so focused sometimes on us doing these streams and other streams that you and I sometimes are on, or just doing videos and things like that, that sometimes these other things that I could be thinking about, I probably don't think about them. I wish I had I wish I had like more of me, like more. Maybe with AI I can do like clones that'll do do more work. But I always feel
little
like
price of reason AI agents out there doing things on your behalf.
but I feel like all the AIs they can't be exactly like me. Like when I see AI, there's something, even if like you say, oh, write an essay about this and that, the AI can write something really interesting, but there'll always be like something missing to give it that little X factor that it's really a person.
Oh yeah. Well, and it just feels it. Honestly, we've had to deal with this in education for for a while now, because that was one of the first things people are like, oh look, I don't have to write an essay. Oh look, I don't have to answer questions on my test. I can just go out and use this thing to generate answers for me and just cut and paste it in there. And the truth is that a lot of times when you look at it, it's pretty obvious that a person didn't write it, that it's been written by this sort of generic idea of what somebody's writing should look like. If you took thousands of different samples and put them together, it just doesn't really feel like it was written by a person. Now, obviously that's not perfect. Looking at something and saying it doesn't feel right, but I know exactly what you're talking about when you take in a bunch of these different AI models and how they tend to write, and the way that they construct sentences and stuff. It doesn't feel like there's any personality behind it. There's not something to make it feel like a person actually made it. So yeah, I completely understand.
The only thing I can say that over time, and I was one of the people that like pushed back a lot, because like I don't like that kind of stuff. But over time, you recognize that there are some advantages. For example, if I wanted to write like some thoughts about something, and maybe the AI were to give like a general outline, not even really saying what I'm going to say in my in the overall piece or essay or whatever I would write. I think that as far as outlines go, it could give like a good blueprint or guideline. But at the end of the day, if I told it to write it, it would sound like you kind of feel like it's AI, because it doesn't really have personality. It's just very, like you said, it's so generic that it doesn't feel like it's really has any kind of real personality.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I guess what I'm saying is I totally agree with you. The dead man is saying that Price is an AI because he mispronounced Elphaba. Is that her name? Yes, that is absolutely true. That did happen to me, and that really bothers me when people write that. Because the thing is, I don't even care if they'll watch it and they just don't like it. They're like, "Oh, you hate your take." Usually when I see that, I'm just like, whatever. There are certain things that the ones that they write, like, "Oh, you're AI because you couldn't pronounce that word." No, first of all, AI may have been able to pronounce it. It was just a name. I don't know. I mean,
Elphaba.
There was another one that I had in the movie A Complete Unknown. This
Mhm.
is one you wouldn't believe how many comments I got, at least from what I remember. And man, listen, sometimes you do these videos. I see a movie, I'm trying to quickly do a review, upload it. Sometimes, a mistake will happen. It's like a human error. So there was it Bob Guthrie or something? There was like a folk singer called Bob Guthrie. I think that's what his name was. I could now don't hate me. I don't even know if that's his first name. Neil Guthrie, maybe. In any case, maybe it was Neil Guthrie. I'm gonna go with Neil.
Or from the Bob Dylan film?
Movie, yeah. So at the beginning of the movie, he meets like a guy who had some kind of medical issue.
It was Woody Guthrie, right?
Woody Guthrie, yeah. Sorry,
Yeah.
that's completely messed it up again.
Yeah, that's fine.
I'm AI again. So basically, I guess his name was Woody Guthrie. You know what? I'm a musician and I know like folk stuff. Somehow Woody Guthrie is a name that wasn't like at the forefront of my mind. I actually Pete Seeger was somebody that I actually remembered his name. Bob Dylan,
Mhm.
of course.
Yeah.
There's some of them. Guthrie, maybe he's like a legend, but it just wasn't at the forefront of my knowledge, unfortunately. Sometimes that happens. It could be a guy that I haven't really, or maybe I heard his stuff and I didn't know his name. So I watched the movie and he visits him in a hospital. And when I did the Bob Dylan movie video, I said at some point that he visited Woody, and I said Woody Guthrie, and people would not let that go. Like I got so many comments of like, and one guy actually wrote this. He's like, "How can I take your review seriously when you couldn't even say that his name was Guthrie?" It's like, dude, I don't, maybe you love Woody Guthrie. I don't live and breathe Woody Guthrie's music. It's not really my thing. I'm sure it's fine. I'm sure I actually know a few songs and wasn't even aware that I think Your Land Is My Land or whatever it is. Your Land Is My Land. Is that the song? What is it? My Land Is Your Land?
Yeah, I mean, he
Is
has
there a
bunch of
song like that?
songs.
My land is your
Yes,
land. Your
yeah,
land is
yeah.
something.
I don't remember if that's his. I'm sure he covered it at some point, but yeah, I don't remember.
Yeah. So
That might be one of his
So
original
basically, the
songs.
dead man says Bob Dylan tried to copy Woody Guthrie's voice early on. I believe that. In any case,
Yeah, This Land Is Your Land is one of his songs. Yeah,
this land is your land. Oh, what did I call it? My land is your land.
my
Another AI moment. for
your
me.
land is my land. Whatever,
Whatever.
that's the Donald Trump version. Your land is my land.
And you know what? If somebody would have heard it, I would have gotten a bunch of AI comments. You couldn't
My
even
land,
learn.
my land is Greenland. That's the Donald Trump.
So yeah,
Right.
that's actually good. I got you. In any case, yeah. So I got so many people like you don't even know how to pronounce Guthrie. And like I got that comment over and over again, and it really bothered me. It's like it takes time to do these videos, Like I actually spend time making them. It's not and again, I don't even care if you saw it and you watched the video and your opinion was you didn't like what I said and you didn't agree with it and you were annoyed. That's fair enough. Even if that was your comment, you're welcome to say that. Although sometimes I get weird comments also. They're like, "Nah, brah, you tripping." It's like, okay, why don't you explain why I'm tripping? You know what I'm saying? Like, I gave my critique over a movie, and like sometimes I have like, nah, brah, you tripping, and it's like, follow that up with another sentence. You know what I mean? That's not any kind of argument. You can't take that argument anywhere. It's not that's not how you debate with somebody. They seem like AI. I seem like
Yeah,
a real
exactly.
person.
So what I really want to do, have you heard you heard the stories of people that they're using AI to capture people who are making like spam phone calls, like trying like calling you to try and scam you out of money or whatever. So what they'll do is when they call, they'll like shift them over to a chat bot, and then they let those people talk to a chat bot for like as long as they can keep them on the line, because for every minute that they're tying them up with this chat bot, then it's another minute that they can't be wasting or using to actually go out and try and attack a real person that they might take advantage of. And so I wish there was a way to, like, anytime there's somebody on your in your comments that wants to take you to task about being an AI, that you could like just shift them over to where they're now only just interacting with a chatbot and let them go on their wild conversations for as long as they want.
I like that idea. By the way, Marla Sharendorf, good to see you here. I thought the Myland video was funny. What are you talking about? I feel like I'm missing context. And
The my land is your land.
and the big
Oh,
but what
yeah.
video? What video is she talking about? The Myland video?
I'm not sure.
Not sure. The big ship,
Yeah.
nah, price car. You want some BS for real, for real. Yeah, that's the kind of things I get.
Yeah. Somebody was over in the Rumble chat was asking when I trying to find students using AI. How are you detecting them? Phantom asked, "Is it the grammar?" And I said, "Actually, yes. One clue is that the grammar is way too good for Gen Z college students." When you look at stuff and you're like, "Wow, this is actually too good for."
So actually the AI, that's how you figure it out
That's
because
one of the ways. It's like, oh, look at all of these spelling errors they didn't make, and look at all of the all the some of the words that they used and the way they actually had like proper grammar and punctuation. Yeah, all of that doesn't look like an actual student wrote it.
But how do you actually really how do you I never thought to ask you this. How do you navigate that? Obviously these days when you grade papers or grade whatever it is, uh I would say that, you know, some of it is probably AI driven.
Yeah, yeah. There's a whole. Believe me, there is absolute panic in some areas of academia as to what to do about it, because I mean they've literally found like scientific papers people are writing to get their PhDs that they're able to figure out that they're written by AI, right? They were written by generative models. It's wild. But so how do we eliminate that from academia? Well, we have to realize first you can't eliminate it. It's not going to be possible. So how can you actually manage that in reasonable ways? For my purposes, for what I actually do as a teacher, I've just changed up the way testing works. I've changed up assignments and things like that that make it far too far too difficult to use AI to actually answer questions. Like if you have multiple choice questions, I mean, they could take a multiple choice question, stick it into an AI, try to get an answer, but it doesn't necessarily mean they're going to get the right thing back out, right? Where it really becomes a problem is for those classes that do use a lot of essay type questions. They require a lot of writing. It gets to be really difficult to try to manage that because students, a lot of them will just take the easy way out. They'll go find some generative AI and they'll create a whole paper. They'll write a whole essay answer in a test. They'll do that with generative AI, and there's not a whole lot of ways for us to fix that. So there's a whole bunch of different things, different approaches that you take. I do have some assignments still where there's written answers in there, and sometimes it's actually pretty easy to tell they tried to use AI, because a lot of times what they'll do is they will literally just take the question that you asked, paste that question into some generative model, and then they will literally just copy what comes out and stick that into the answer. And sometimes they're so lazy that they don't actually bother to read the question themselves and realize that that's a question that's directly pointed at something that they have done, or a previous question, how they answered a previous question. And so their answer is just a non sequitur, right? They're not even
I
taking the
see.
time to recognize that that
That's
there's
real
something
lazy.
about that
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 is so lazy.
they have to customize that answer to the question. It's not just going to work for for just anything. And sometimes too, like the answers that you'll get back, like they'll stick it in there, and it's just like it essentially just summarizes the question in a different way. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't actually answer the question in any way. But they don't take the time at all to actually take what they've gotten from that generative AI and ensure that it actually answers the question correctly. Because, of course, most of the people who are doing that kind of stuff don't have any knowledge to know whether they answered the question right or not. They've been cheating their way through their classes for years. So sometimes it's pretty easy to catch. Not always, but sometimes.
I mean, tests that you can test them at school, especially with like multiple choice things, it
Yeah.
seems stupid. But in that case, if they don't know what they would have to know something, I think. And if they handwrite, if they had to have to handwrite things like in when they're actually sitting in class, that would be one thing. When it
Yeah.
comes to papers, maybe if it's a big paper, I don't know if it's doable, but maybe if it's like a big determines the majority of your grade that semester, whatever it is, you have to bring them for them to talk about your paper with you. Meaning, if that person knows everything that's in that paper that he wrote, if he can explain it to you in a way that doesn't seem like he's an idiot, then at least you know that he knows something. You know what I mean? Even if, let's say, he went to the generative model or whatever you were saying, and at least he learned something along the way, and if you ask him, he actually knows the information, at least that's something. But if it's somebody that's just handing it in and doesn't even know what they're handing in, that's really the problem.
Yeah, and honestly, you've hit on it. That's what a lot of the more in-depth type courses are doing, is they're actually, not only are you going to turn in the paper, you have to actually uh, then talk about it. Right. You have to go to either in front of a class, or you have to go in front of to the instructor or something, and you have to actually talk about what you wrote and why you wrote it and stuff. Because a lot of these people, if they're just using a generative AI to try and cop out of it, they're not going to know what they've actually written in that paper, because they're not going to take the time to actually read what they turned in. It's pretty pathetic, to be honest. I think the problem is pretty overblown in education. It is definitely an issue, but I think a lot of students are now recognizing already that uh, they're not actually gaining anything. They're not getting anything out of the degree that they're paying for by simply cheating their way through it, using AI to write their papers and so on. So it's up to the student. There's always been ways to cheat. There's always going to be ways to cheat. Uh, you know, I use AI, but I'm not turning in a paper to get graded, right? I'm not learning the material and trying to come out with a degree in the end. I'm using it to help me summarize things or build outlines, or even I've there's ways for me to take whole PowerPoint presentations, throw them into a generative model and say, hey, look through the PowerPoint presentation and make 20 quiz questions for me, and then I can pull those out and I can use those. I always edit them. They're never perfect. But you edit them, and then you've got a bunch of quiz questions there, and I didn't have to sit down and write 20 quiz questions. I get a whole bunch of ideas, and then I can pick from those to
Right, if
use
you
for a
actually
test.
know what you're doing, maybe it's helpful, and,
Yeah.
yeah, that's what I was telling you, that I've had a few instances where I wanted to maybe write an essay or do something, and I don't agree either with, the it's certain situations that I may not even agree with the information that I'm being given, but the idea of sort of separating it into a few different parts and maybe talking about one thing and then doing something else, sometimes there's value in that, but it's more of a tool. If you use it as a tool to enhance what you're doing, I think that there is something that could be done with AI. If you're
Yes.
using it as a tool that you don't know what you're talking about and it's talking for you, that's when it becomes the problem.
Absolutely. Yeah. When you're using it as a substitute for your knowledge rather than something to enhance your capabilities, to enhance your knowledge, enhance what you can do, then it's really taking away from you as a person and what you can learn and what you can do with that knowledge. So yeah, it's
I see that Hypnocrab said something weird. I have no context. I don't know any of this. Did y'all see this? Slain, California fire captain pleaded for her life in chilling ring video as cops hunt alleged killer wife. I don't
oh
want to die. Have no idea what
no,
this.
I did not see anything about that.
The only thing I heard about fire chiefs in L.A. is that they didn't put water in the hydrants, but I don't know anything about this. Is this a thing? Does anybody know about this?
Hmm.
Does this fire chief have anything to do with the fires, or is this like a whole different? thing?
No. See, I had heard something about this. Let's see. There was Rebecca Marodi, captain with the California Department of Forestry and Fire Protection, had a spat with her wife. Imagine that, a fire captain in California. That, yeah, seems to be a thing in California and just about everywhere. But yeah, there was apparently now there's video of it, but it was stabbed to death by her wife. Yeah, so
That is
horrible stuff.
So she
Yeah.
was she one of those ones that was fired?
No, I don't believe so. This was someone different in a different area.
It's not it's not the one that said that she didn't want the man to be where he next to the
No,
fire.
no. This is this is a different person.
I see.
Yeah.
I didn't know anything about this. So what happens on that Ring video? And I don't need to necessarily
Oh,
see
I
it.
don't know. That's not the kind of thing I even want to
No,
watch.
yeah, no. It's not the stuff I want to
horrifying.
watch. That's why I didn't put it on. I was just kind of wondering what they were
Yeah.
referring to, but I understand. Listen, it doesn't matter if it's a same sex couple or not.
Yeah.
If somebody killing their spouse is a bad thing. Somebody killing just in general,
Yeah. Awful.
Under circumstances like that is a bad thing. And I just didn't know. I guess this story just flew under my radar.
Yeah.
Is it
And
flew under or flew over my radar or under
the radar. Yeah.
Yes. Technically, if it was over the radar, wouldn't that be also?
Well, that I suppose that could also be possible, although it would be a lot harder to go over radar. The under the radar is
Under the
is
radar.
From,
That's
that's from old military jargon, because the radar typically points out and up, and so if you can bring a plane in low enough, then you could avoid being picked up on radar because it's normally pointing towards the sky, and so that's the historical context.
Your land is my land.
Yeah, my land is
and it's over the radar. Somewhere over the radar. There should be a song like that. It bypassed your radar. That's fine. That
Yeah,
can be as well.
sure. That works.
So okay. So we talked a little bit about Trump and the new media, about Joy Reid getting fired.
Joy Reid is gone,
and the different responses to it. Now next were Kathleen Kennedy stepping down.
Kathleen Kennedy. Yes,
I did address this in that late night random thing that I did, but I will say that since I didn't hear your opinion, what do you think about all of it, Professor?
Well, I know that this was reported by who is it? Puck, I think is the reporter.
Puck is Matthew Bologna, and Matthew Bologna, he used to be the editor of the Hollywood Reporter.
Yeah.
Then, and this is what my theory is: he kind of saw what was happening with the news landscape, and also online and things like that, and he went and he decided to make a more kind of paywall type of entertainment news thing, and presented himself as like, I'm not the Access Media. I'm this is a paid kind of thing that you're getting, but I'm really like the internal kind of independent news guy, which between you and me is a crock of shit, because if you read his articles, they're all like shill the same thing. He just wants you to pay for them. I'm not saying that what he knows and what he reports is false, but I just don't have a ton of professional respect for him. I'm not saying that he doesn't have sources and he's not in that town, he doesn't do stuff, but I almost feel like he tried to present himself as kind of like, oh, I'm this cool independent guy. I don't trust it, especially since he hired Scott Mendelson from Forbes. That's not a good sign. That doesn't spell independent media to me. You know what I'm saying? But go on.
Well, this will probably sum it up right here. My reply to Little Platoon and and what he had to say earlier today. He, I'll not believe Kathleen Kennedy has left Lucasfilm until I see her carrying a cardboard box full of Rose Tico Funko Pops out the back door.
That's fair enough, and that's never going
Agreed.
to happen.
Until she is gone, no longer there, new president installed at Lucasfilm. I'm not going to buy it. It's been we've heard it so many times already. We've heard, yeah. Adam Gray mentioned Doomcock. Yeah, he's been mentioning this. DC's been mentioning this for 7 years, or however long he's been on doing this thing. Like, it's been forever, right? It's the constant. Oh, she's leaving. Oh, she's gonna get kicked out. Oh, latest rumors, she's no
There was like
longer in
the deep
charge.
throat. There was like the deep throat source that would tell him the thing,
Yeah,
or
yep.
whatever
The
it is.
latest rumors. There's a
Sparrow,
bunch of executives that have taken over. Lucasfilm. They're
right?
they're
The
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 four
four
horsemen of the
horsemen.
apocalypse.
Yeah, exactly. The
Yeah.
horsemen of the apocalypse are now. They've shut down her email. There's an investigation. All this stuff.
Yep.
At the end of the day, sorry, I want to let you finish. I apologize.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's interesting to kind of hear this from some sources other than sort of the traditional sources that we've been hearing from Doomcock and some of the other people out there. But um, the thing is, it's the boy who cried wolf. It's just we've heard it so many times. I just cannot believe it's true until she is actually gone. She makes some announcement and says, my contract is done, or Disney says her contract is done on this date, or announces there's a new president or whatever. I'm not going to believe it. And the real truth of it is, it doesn't matter. Star Wars is already ruined. Star Wars is ruined. Indiana Jones is ruined. Everything she's touched has gone to shit. Sorry, Sean. It's garbage now. It's garbage. And so it doesn't matter if she leaves or not. She leaves behind an absolute wreckage, just destruction of Lucasfilm. And so it doesn't matter who the new president is. It doesn't matter what they do, unless they bring somebody in and Disney says, all of that garbage that she made is gone. We're just throwing it away. Now it's in its other universe, or it's some other thing or whatever, so that we can go back to making good Star Wars. Until the sequel trilogy is no longer part of canon, Star Wars is still dead. Doesn't matter who's in charge of Lucasfilm.
I agree. I think that, and I had similar sentiments. It doesn't even matter anymore. It mattered after The Last Jedi. It mattered if maybe after the first season of Mandalorian, when it looked like Jon Favreau was doing something that was a little nicer towards fans. That was a good time to sort of shoo her away, and maybe let other people kind of change the tone and the atmosphere of the company. The opposite happened. She only ruined The Mandalorian and then fired Gina Carano and all that other stuff. There were so many if this is a train, there were so many stations where she needed to get off at, and they were some of the first stations on this train. She needed to get off at those. Now we're basically at the end of the ride. The train has already basically arrived at its final destination. It's the part now where everybody has sort of left the train, and there's one guy kind of cleaning, something, maybe sweeping. That's where Star Wars is right now. There's nobody left on this train. Nobody cares. And even in this article of the Puck one, there she made it clear. They made it clear, which was a shill article, that she almost left like a year ago, but then she changed her mind last minute, and she's like, fuck it, I'll stay another year, which shows the type of power she has and how she can do whatever she wants. And not only that, she's leaving. Even according to that article, she's getting all these awards. They're giving all these awards every second.
Oh yeah.
And this, I'll say, even the different Doomcocks and different sources. I've heard this on Midnight's Edge for a long time, and even sources like Doomcock or whatever, different sources. I've heard for Valiant WDW Pro heard for a very long time that there's one thing that most of them said, and I think we all said it too, that when the time comes that she leaves, it's going to be on her own terms. It's going to be with a bunch of awards, and it's going to be with the mainstream media clapping and saying how great she is. And that's all happening right now. They're not, even in that Puck article. It was a very disingenuous thing because he said, "Oh, I myself have criticized her in the past." Yeah, you yourself criticized her in that same article. He calls her a legendary producer multiple times. He also says that it was difficult for her to, to be in charge of Star Wars because of the toxic fans and things like that in that article. So,
Mhm.
and you already know that that's where the mainstream media is going. They're not going to easily, admit that she was the worst studio head of a major property ever in the history of Hollywood, ever. They're not going to admit that. They're going to give her 70 awards, and on the day she leaves, they're going to be standing around there, all those legacy access media, and singing for "She's a Jolly Good Fellow" as she walks out the door with 70 awards, and everybody does the red carpet and throws rose petals at her feet.
Ugh.
And
It's gonna be pathetic. Yeah.
Jonathan Conroy says, "Don't forget Mike Zero." Mike Zero, by the way, um, I don't know if you guys know this. Mike Zero is one of the reasons that on my main channel or in the Quantum Leap streams, that whole "I am such an awesome guy" jingle, that is because Mike Zero. Do you know that?
No.
Yep, that is because of Mike Zero, and I'll tell you why. Uh, Early on, when I started my YouTube channel initially, I wanted to do some kind of parody satire channel. And I was going for something completely different. It wasn't really us talking like now. It was something more that I wanted to do little things that would be humorous. And I would sometimes run into videos by Mike Zero. And when I saw them, I would laugh. I would laugh a lot because they would be so dumb with no real information, and just he has a way of delivering them that he just puts on that straight face and says the biggest nonsense in the world, and he'll say it over and over again as long as you click on his videos. And I kind of looked at a video of his, and he was standing next to a dartboard at the time. I don't know if he still has a dartboard, but at the time he stood next to a dartboard. So I made a video, one of my first videos on YouTube, which I think now is unlisted or something. It was basically me standing next to a dartboard. It's very primitive, but it's like me next to a dartboard doing a Mike Zero video. And I think that I called myself Price Hero because it was supposed to be a parody of that. And then when I watched this video, I said, you got to give the same atmosphere. And I remembered that okay, if you watch Mike Zero's video, I don't know if it used to be at the beginning and at the end. At least now, at the end of his videos, you have, for a long time, I don't know, maybe you removed it. For a very long time, there was a song at the end of Mike Zero's video. And I dare you to try to tell me what that person is singing in that song. Now, initially, I thought that the person singing the song was Mike Zero. And I thought to myself, when you do your parody, you have to have a song too, and you have to just take his song, do it different enough. It's not exactly the same. It's different enough because I don't know. I don't want anybody to say that I took a song because it's not the same song. But what I did is that I made it different enough, and I made it as if I'm singing words. And I looked at his videos and I said, if he was singing, what would he be saying? And then I did "I am such an awesome guy. I make so many videos." Brum. And the brum thing is that there was something in that song that sounded like a brum to me. That's why nobody even knows why it's there. There was some stupid thing in his song that you hear it and I don't know. Does anybody even know what I'm talking about?
Oh, I avoid Mike Zero like the plague, so I definitely haven't watched any of his older stuff.
No, let me see if I can watch a video of his. All it's complete nonsense. I'm just wondering. Uh, I'm just wondering if he still has the theme song, which, by the way, I think not. He doesn't sing. So let me see if it's still at the end.
Chat, tell
tell
some
some jokes.
jokes. Well, I could, man, I could go on about the Kathleen Kennedy stuff forever. I mean, really, the insane amount of damage that she has done to not just to Star Wars, but just to her legacy, right? I mean, I'm certain that she thinks she's the greatest thing since sliced bread, but the truth is that uh, she's destroyed every property that Lucasfilm had. She's obliterated Star Wars. She's destroyed Indiana Jones. She ruined Willow, right? I mean, it's everything that she's done there. It has not built her legacy. Yes, she was a storied producer for decades, working on tons of just top notch films. Some of the greatest films ever made. The original Indiana Jones trilogy, so many other things that involve Spielberg. She had great credentials coming in to taking over the studio, but
It's
as a
very
studio head, she is an complete disaster, an absolute disaster in what has happened with Lucasfilm. That studio, they bought that studio. Disney paid $4 billion for that studio. And they still have not made back that money. Star Wars was basically a money printing machine until she got a hold of it, until she was in charge of it. And then it's done nothing but produce crummy, sort of, occasionally brilliant, mostly just wretched garbage. And they've spent themselves into, oblivion in some of these projects to where they have not made back the 4 billion that they paid. All they had to do was keep making awesome toys based on the original trilogy. They needed to make some movies that had likable characters that could sell lots of toys and were fun adventures for men and women. And instead, it's just this nonstop insertion of all of this identity politics and forcing Ray on everybody to make this character that eventually, everyone gets so angry. Oh, you call her a Mary Sue. She is the absolute definition of a Mary Sue. She has every power she needs exactly when she needs it. She never needed training. She didn't require effort to gain any of those powers. She's simply good at everything all the time for no explicable reason, so that she can always be the best of everything ever at all times. And nobody ever we never have to worry about her failing at anything. It's pathetic. She's a terrible character. She was the center of two terrible movies and one sort of passable movie. Still not great.
no.
And that set everything that's happened at Lucasfilm on a trajectory to where we got we got Andor. I think a pretty good show. Definitely slow. I understand why people didn't get into it, but Andor, pretty good. We got, of course, before that, we have Rogue One, a decent movie, also kind of slow in the beginning, that really only kind of picks up in the third act. Still has a girl boss in it, but it has some other characters in it as well, and is enjoyable in what it is. Most people tend to enjoy that film. We got disasters like Solo. That I have watched that movie twice, and the second time was under protest. That is one of the worst things I've ever seen.
I mean, honestly, I only saw that movie once. I only saw Solo once. It's hard for me to even have a reference, and it's not one that I then went back to revisit.
Yeah.
I thought at the time when I saw it that it didn't annoy me as much as, like, The Last Jedi or The Rise of Skywalker. But beyond that, I mean, it was just whatever. I like Woody Harrelson. I remember liking something he did in that movie. It wasn't a very more than anything, it felt like an unnecessary movie. It didn't feel like I watched it and suddenly, like, my horizons were broadened about Han Solo. Plus, you
Yeah.
played him at such a similar age, and he's not Harrison Ford, that I
No.
think I just never really bought into the fact that he's Han Solo, considering some of the other crap that Lucasfilm have put out. If you watch Solo and then, like, The Acolyte, I still think that Solo is better.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
with that being said, like I said, I saw it once, never had the urge to watch it again.
Yeah. Well, I watched it once, and then not long after that, for some reason, my kids and my wife said, "Oh, we want to watch that." I'm like, "Oh, jeez, okay, yeah, I'll sit through it again, I guess." Yeah, it's there's some people in the chat saying they like it. I just it was so unnecessary. It was so forced. It's like, "Oh, remember the dice that were hanging on the, in the
A
ship
ton of
in that
member berries.
episode?" Like,
It me
where did the dice come from? Oh, where did he get his jacket? Where did
His
he get
name
his
also.
blaster? Where did he get his name? How did he meet Chewie? How did he meet Lando? How did he get it was just this just nonstop thing. Apparently, everything important in his life happened in, like, a 2-year period. It just nothing else before that mattered, nothing else after that mattered. Everything that was set up about the character that he was when you got into when you got into the actual films of the original trilogy, that, all all of that happened to him, like, all at one in one particular situation. And then they had the whole thing with Lando, like, banging his robot. It's like, what the
There
hell?
there was stuff there. I think that at the time, if I saw it today, it would probably annoy me much more. I don't know why. I just saw it and didn't think about it again. It was a movie that nobody asked for. It didn't add anything to any kind of lore. It didn't give us anything, and it was really only trying to set up additional girl bosses. What I understand now, maybe I didn't fully understand it then. They wanted the Game of Thrones lady to be a girl boss. They also were trying to bring Darth Maul back, which was also stupid. None of that really spoke to me, and I don't care that they didn't follow up with anything. I also everybody was like Donald Glover was so good as Lando. I think that Billy D. Williams was good as Lando. I don't really think that Donald Glover,
No. It
convinced me that he was a young Lando.
no. I
Maybe
mean,
if you listen, if you did a separate adventure without these classic characters in space with this cast and trying to give like a screenplay that's not like complete piece of crap, maybe somebody could have done something decent with this. But as it stands, the movie is I understand you're saying it's like the worst. I think that they've done worse than that movie.
no, I'm not saying it's the worst. I'm just saying it's terrible. There's
Honestly, I actually think it's one of the least worst. It's worst, but it's least worst compared to some of the other worst. Do you get what I mean? If I have to choose
okay,
between some of
I
their
get what you mean.
like if
Yeah,
I'm watching The Last Jedi or Solo, if now I have to choose, like I'm forced to watch one of the two, I'll watch Solo. Not that I want to watch either of them, but I'm saying like there are worse things you could do with your time than watching Solo if you're forced to watch other
yeah.
Kathleen Kennedy Star Wars. Meaning,
The acolyte is a fresh turd. It gets stuck to your shoes. It's a
yes,
real mess.
yes.
The Solo is more of a stale turd, right? It's still, kind of, you don't like to have it around. It's a mess, but at least it's easy to clean up and move on
By
with
the
your
way,
life.
there's a few things I wanted to say. First of all, if you're new to this channel, wherever you're watching it, please make sure to like and subscribe. So you can just know when we do this. We do this twice a week, but you'll get notifications and stuff, and you can hang out with us, which we like. If you're on Rumble, of course, you should even, and if you're watching through an app, and you've somehow stumbled onto this stream, please also sign up for Rumble. It's free. And then if you can like and follow, that's also great. Just throwing that out there. It's not like, it's not an obligation, but if you do that, it would be really nice because it supports what we do. And yeah, it would mean something to us, I guess. So there's that. The other thing I wanted to show you, this is an old school Mike Zero video. I think he does different stuff now where he changed it up a little bit, but this is what his videos used to look like back at that time. Are you ready?
Go for it.
This thing.
Now, I think it's pretty safe to say that the future of the Star Wars franchise seems to be quite expansive, not just with their books, novels, comics, and video games, but also, let's not forget about their new Star Wars TV shows, the new Star Wars movies that are currently in the...
So if you look here, do you see that it says Mike Zero and then it has that dartboard?
Yeah.
He just blabs a bunch of nonsense about Rey Skywalker and all this crap throughout his video.
The future of the Star Wars franchise under Kathleen Kennedy is bright.
Like, I have to give him credit that he's saying the dumbest nonsense. He knows he is like one of the biggest, bullshitters that I've ever seen. With a straight face, he'll press record and talk about the craziest nonsense that he just thought of. There's no source. There's no nothing. He just makes it up on the spot. I mean, I suppose that's a gift too.
Yeah.
So once he finishes his video, let's see. You could see the end, and then there's his jingle, which I thought he was singing. Are you with me?
I got you.
Think about all of this in the comments, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, do make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.
Gun in hand, we are alone again. No hiding one from night to moon. We hear them moans again. No hiding.
So that was what he did, and when I made my parody, I didn't even go back to kind of listening to it. So what happened is that just from my mind, I wanted the vibe of what the song was. I also wanted to make it different enough. It's not the same chords exactly. It's not the same melody, but I wanted to do like a tip of the hat to how silly I thought like the opening and the jingle was. And I thought he was singing the song, and I couldn't understand what he was singing. I think it later turned out that it was somebody else that he asked to sing that song. I mean, did he commission it? I don't even know. But could you understand one word that person was saying?
Actually, believe it or not, here you go. This is the song. It's okay, before we get copyrighted or something. That's the
So that's it. Yeah. There was some kind of song. Maybe he knows the guy that made that song. I don't know for what reason he put that there. Ever since then, he's also changed it. I think there's a different one, but that's what I remembered in my mind. I actually I gave him more credit. I'm like, why does he sing that weird song at the end? And there's sort of a hint. There's a little portion of that song at the beginning. Only I guess I didn't remember. I thought that he sings at the beginning and at the end. And I thought that was funny. I'm like, this guy with his crap, he even sings at the beginning and ending of his videos. This is so dumb. And that was part of my, my thing. I mean, I could do something very naughty and try to find the video that I did. It's only like 3 minutes and show like the origin of all this nonsense. It probably is awful. I haven't watched it since. It's going to be like really cringe and embarrassing. But you know what? Let's do it. I think I make like 3-minute videos. This is gonna be really embarrassing, so I hope you guys know that.
Well, no better time than to air that laundry on a late night stream.
This is exactly what we do on a late night stream. I'm gonna find this video. You can tell some jokes in the meantime. I'm about to find it.
Tell some joke. Well, I can talk a little bit more about some of the other stuff that's happened. We can come back to this a little bit later. I saw there was a game that you were mentioning that you wanted to talk about, Mecha Break.
I did.
We can talk about that a little bit later. But you may have heard there has been a bunch of stuff that has been happening in the gaming industry today, and Vex mentioned it when she was here earlier. Probably one of the biggest pieces of news today was that the Wonder Woman game has been canceled. This has been in development for some 7 years now.
Okay.
And so the Wonder Woman game, this was going to be the next game from WB and one of their studios, specifically Monolith Productions. So if some people out there might be familiar with Monolith, their big hits over the last couple of decades were from the Shadow of Mordor series that they made, which were fantastic games. They had Shadow of Mordor and Shadow of War. They were essentially they were games that were in the Tolkien universe, basically in the same universe as the films. And it went back and sort of told the story of the guy who created the rings initially, but then there's also this other new character who sort of comes in contact with Celebrimbor, the guy who helped to make the rings with Sauron and was tricked into making the rings. And together, sort of his spirit and this guy is brought back to life, and they battle against the forces of Mordor, the orcs and everything. And the brilliant part of this game was that they had basically an AI that they built for the orcs called the Nemesis system, and it was fantastic. The way that they designed the AI for the enemies and the whole system around the way that it worked. So essentially, you would fight against these orcs, and sometimes, you would fight them and you would kill them, and they would potentially they could get resurrected, or maybe they would run away from the fight, or you would run away from the fight. And then when you would run into them again, like they would say, I chased you off last time, and I'm going to kill you now, or whatever. So they would basically sort of remember some of the encounters that had happened before. And they also, an incredibly funny part of it too was that the names for the orcs were randomly generated, and sometimes there were some hilarious names for the generated orc captains and stuff. But you had this whole system where you would have a fight with them, and then if they won, then they would sort of rise in the ranks and they would become more powerful. One time, I actually playing the game, playing the original game. One time I faced an enemy that I set him on fire when I defeated him. He comes back and he's completely burned, and he talks about how you burned him in the previous encounter. It was wild. And it was this incredibly great system that they had for those games. Both of those games are just great. People can argue about whether or not they excuse me, whether or not they fit well in the Tolkien canon or not, but they were a lot of fun. Joshua Culkin said one of them was douche.
That was one of the names?
Yeah, he's saying one of the random names was douche with a umlaut over the U. Douche. Yeah, it was incredibly fun, those games. But Monolith Productions, they've been working on this Wonder Woman game for I think 7 years now. And WB has they basically said, game's canceled, studio is shut down. And they were not the only one. This is the same studio, not the same studio, but the same company, Warner Brothers, and their Warner Brothers Interactive and all of their games, that was responsible for creating Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, another game that took like 9 years to make and to put, tons of money into it. And it was, in the end, it was
Disaster.
very poorly received. And in fact, kind of started the entire fight against Sweet Baby Inc. and everybody, really turning against a lot of this wokeness in games. That was Warner Brothers that paid for that game. And so now we've got we have the game, the potential, the cancellation of this Wonder Woman game. It was made by that company. I don't know a lot of these companies, these very classic, really, really top tier developers, a lot of them had been pretty heavily infiltrated by all of this stuff. I mean, when we talk about this game that was made, the Kill the Justice League game, that was Rocksteady. They made some of the best games of the last two generations of consoles with making the Arkham games, the Batman Arkham games. It's clearly not the same team. The game this new game they made looked worse than any of the previous Arkham games, and it was absolutely packed with all of these agendas and all of this stuff. So to say yes, that we, says Wonder Woman, what we lost, right? I Yes, I would have been interested to see this from Monolith. They were a great developer, but there's nothing to say that Monolith was not also thoroughly infiltrated by all of these things. And also underneath WB and their role in a lot of this, they have been very it, all of these studios have been very poorly managed by them. They've been too hands off where they should have been more hands on. They've been up in their business, forcing all sorts of stuff to say, oh, we need to make this a live service game. Let's put all these things in here so we can get all sorts of ongoing revenue and stuff. It's a real disaster. And so it's not really surprising to me that now WB has had to shut down a lot of this stuff. But pretty sad. There's a bunch of studios, especially I think Monolith is the most well-known studio. There's a couple of other studios that were also shuttered under them. But Rocksteady is still open. I don't know why. Other than it has been rumored recently. The rumor is that Rocksteady has done a complete 180 and they're now working on another game in the Arkham series that will be again a Batman centric game, but this time it will be Batman Beyond. Do you know that property price?
Not familiar with it.
Okay,
No.
so Batman Beyond was so you had Batman the animated series that came out in the 90s, and they followed that up with Batman Beyond, which was a new story. It was a completely new character. It had not been explored in the comics or anything. It's completely new invention for the animated cartoons in the 90s. And it was basically that you jump into the future where Bruce Wayne is now he's elderly. He's no longer able to fight crime, and he ends up having to he doesn't find anyone to carry the mantle until somebody sort of encounters him. His name is Terry, and let's see if I can go look it up. I'm trying to remember. Terry McGinnis was his name. I could not remember the full name, but he discovers that he's the Batman and or was the Batman. And then there's all sorts of stuff happening. So he steals his most advanced bat suit and goes out to fight crime. And so eventually Bruce Wayne takes on a mentor role, teaching Terry about being a crime fighter and what that life is like and everything he needs to know to be safe and to do his job well. I loved that show. And also there were a number of comic book series that followed it up later. So I think it would be a really interesting turn. It's something that's not been heavily explored, not as much as Batman is. It's a sort of a techno futuristic thing. He lives in Neo Gotham, right? It's where he lives. So it could be a really interesting thing to explore. But again, I don't know that I can trust Rocksteady, right? I love that property, but is it going to be another, disaster like Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League? I mean, and how long are they going to take to develop it? How long is it going
True,
to take
these things take years.
Yeah, I mean, is it going to take them 6 years? 7 years to make this, or are they going to do it? Are they going to be able to actually like crack down and turn around and make a game in the next 3 to 4 years like we used to get? I don't know, but yeah, it would be. I think that would be a great place to go. I was kind of surprised they didn't do that before, when they sort of hit the end of the trilogy of the games that they made with the Arkham series. There was also the Arkham Origins game, but Rocksteady didn't make that one. But I thought that would be a perfect place for them to go with the story was to move into Batman Beyond. They even had a Batman Beyond costume available in a couple of the different versions of those Arkham games. So I thought it would have been a perfect direction to go with it. But I don't know. We'll see. It's just rumors right now that they're thinking about doing that. But it's amazing that of all the studios that they kept open, they kept open the one that really ended a lot of this. The ones that caused all of this damage with their just disastrous release of Suicide Squad. So I guess we'll just have to wait and see what happens going forward. But it's pretty seismic news that we've gotten about all of these games having been canceled. That by the way, that's a picture of that of the Shadow of Mordor game there, where you would face up against these different orcs. They would have these randomly generated or procedurally generated armor and powers and different mixes of different attitudes and preferences and stuff for different weapons. And it was really cool. It was really neat. I hope that these developers land somewhere. If there are, I would hope there's still a lot of the developers that help build those original games, that they can land somewhere. But the bad news is that the Nemesis system, that was really the core of what they built in those games, is completely patented and under the control of Warner Brothers. So even if they did go somewhere else and start up another studio, they wouldn't have that original Nemesis system to work with. So little bummed about that, but not really super surprised to hear that now there's more and more game studios that are shutting down.
Yeah, I think this is all inevitable. There's a lot of people that made a lot of companies that made a lot of stupid mistakes, and I think that as opposed to, let's say, a Disney with their stupid movies, these type of gaming companies with the amount of money that's on the line, the fact that you need people to actually play the games and play them for a while and build communities, I think that in that sense, they're feeling the pain of their agenda peddling even more than these kind of studios. Disney, as much as they're annoying, still have enough to work with all of their assets. Other studios can still, at least some of them, mildly stay afloat. In this case, with the gaming, if you fail in a game, that's serious. I feel like there's a lot more. There's less you could spin. Like with Disney, they're like, oh, all the ifs and phobes, all this and all that and whatever. But if you spend like several years making a game and it comes out and nobody wants to play it, it's really hard. You could try, those kind of Kotaku could try to spin what they want, but it just doesn't help them, I think.
Yeah. Did you have something to show, or I can come back to some other?
No.
Other
Okay,
topics
there's
in
a few
minute.
things. First of all, since we're already talking about the gaming, there's this game Mecha Break
Yeah.
that surprisingly, I was at Comic-Con and somebody walked up to me and said, "Hey, you should come and like play Mecha Break. Like it's nobody's played it. It's like a test play or whatever it is." I'm like, "All right." So I went and I was there and there was like Mecha Break. I thought I had more videos or at least one, but I can't find it. But this is from the thing. I now switched. Do you see this one? So this was happening
Yeah.
there. I went to the booth. Then there's actually little videos. They're like 10-second videos. Can you see it?
Yeah.
Okay, so. So this was at the place itself when I was waiting to play. This is also me. This was me at Comic-Con, by the way. It's too bad nobody met me there. It would have been fun.
Was this your chill day to go shop and look around? Yep, that's exactly. Cosplay to us.
Not quite sure what I was doing here, but I guess I was admiring the... Oh, this is me online, yeah.
Yeah, my wife's going to Sweden and he's going to go.
I must have thought that I wanted to do something with this. I'm just not sure what I was even planning.
Adding some voiceover afterwards or something.
Yeah, I probably wanted this as kind of B-roll or something like that. But yeah, that was me at that booth. So basically, it's a 6v6 game. And I know that people are now sharing videos of it. I've seen people talking about it. I was actually one of the first people to play it. Or an early person that played it. I actually quite enjoyed it. I know some people are saying maybe it's not good, it is good, and maybe I'm not like the number one gamer in the world these days. Like I said, the only game I played in the past year, aside from that, is probably like Black Myth Wukong and maybe some retro gaming. But I did enjoy actually being able to play this game at Comic-Con, and I immediately noticed that there was a woman that looked like a woman. And she moved and acted like they wanted a character that looks like a woman, and she did look that way. I actually saw that as a positive, so that was one thing that I did like. And then as for the gameplay itself, it's like you're this woman and you get into this kind of armor robot thing. I don't know how to explain it. Like it's a robot, but it's armor, kind of like Tony Stark when he's battling the Incredible Hulk.
Yeah.
Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
So basically, you get into something like that, and then initially, you're on this planet. It's like a deserted planet of sorts. It's very like orange setting, and then you have to go and you have to fight all these kind of creatures and things there, and collect all this stuff. That feels like in most games. Then there was one interesting part that at the end I reached like a place where there was like a bigger threat, like a bigger boss or whatever you want to call it. And at that point, basically, there's other people that are with you playing. Meaning, at this point, like it's sort of like you can't. I don't know if you can get rid of him by yourself. The fact that I was like with multiple people, all firing on this creature, it kind of helped get rid of the creature. This big robot or whatever it was. All in all, I didn't mind the game. I thought it was all right. I mean, I think probably what's happening, even though I'm not like Mr. Gamer, I think that some of the people that are now complimenting the game, they're saying something similar to what I said. Let me see if I can show you this. The game may not be something spectacular, but at the same time, the fact that like the woman looks like a woman, somebody else noticed
There's
this
some
as
jiggle
well.
physics there.
No, but you know what? I saw it. That added points for me. Fine. People are saying it's not so great. People just like seeing that the woman has jiggle physics. Fine. You know what? Having jiggle physics isn't the worst thing. And I remember seeing that when I was playing, and I liked it. I thought it was fine. I'm not saying it's the best game ever, but I didn't hate it. I don't know. I guess maybe I'm also not like the best source. I can only say if I enjoy playing something. I enjoyed playing Black Myth Wukong. I enjoyed playing that Mecha Break game.
Yeah.
That's all I can say. I don't know. I'm sure there's games that I would enjoy more than others. I probably enjoyed Black Myth Wukong more than the Mecha Break one. Mecha Break seems like how sometimes you watch a movie and it's kind of dumb, but you kind of like it for some reason anyways. That's how
Sure. Yeah.
That's how I felt about Mecha Break.
Yeah, I've actually heard a few people talking about it because it is now in open beta, so you can get it on Steam and play it. And so what I've actually heard is that it actually looks really good, and that the gameplay is fairly fun. It is unfortunately it's another hero shooter, and that's not drawing a lot of people in. A lot of people are begging for yet another hero shooter. But I have heard that it's actually a lot of fun. Unfortunately, it's getting a lot of negative feedback because of the monetization system in the game. It basically does every single type of pay to play kind of stuff that you can do in a game. Like there's multiple different currency systems where you buy a virtual currency to upgrade your character, and then there's a different virtual currency that's used to buy different rigs, and then there's another one that then there's loot boxes, and then there's all these other things. So it's like the gameplay kind of fun. Everything they built around it to monetize the game is kind of awful. So the thing is they can fix that. If they want to, they can fix that, right?
I guess,
But
yeah.
yeah, it's
You're basically saying that if you want all these kind of additional things, they make you pay for it, and they
yeah,
really squeeze money out of you.
yeah, yep.
I
That's my understanding. I haven't actually played it myself or seen any of that from myself, but yeah,
I can
that's what I've
understand why
heard.
somebody would feel that way. Marla
Yeah.
Sharendorf says Star Trek Enterprise is my favorite Star Trek. It's a random comment, but I will say that I actually do like Star Trek Enterprise. I like Star Trek Enterprise more than I like Voyager, but I've only watched one season of Voyager, so it's hard for
Yes.
me to say.
So, yeah, there was a bunch of Star Trek talk in the chat, and it started from a super chat, actually. So we got a super chat from the Dad Man. I believe he probably heard when I was on with Mark D with a C the other day, talking about various things on his Sunday Night Geekery channel. And we were talking about a few different things, and I mentioned there that Deep Space Nine was my personal favorite of the series. It's the one that I really just hold close to my heart. Not that I don't enjoy others. I love TOS. I really did enjoy most of the Next Generation. Voyager was not my favorite. It had a lot of problems. First time watching Enterprise, I didn't love it. But I came to appreciate it for the acting and for the characters and stuff later. But D Space Nine has been my favorite. So he mentions here, I think PA is supposed to be Professor R2. Duet is a great season 1 episode, and you are absolutely right. In fact, that episode, Duet, was the episode. It's fairly late in the first season. I think it's like 19, episode 19. It's fairly late in that first season, but that was the episode that brought me back in to the show, and I was committed to it from then on because there were some real corny episodes in that first season. There's a few really good ones, but there's a bunch of really corny, cheesy, poor, borrowed plots from other series and stuff in that first season. But that episode, Duet,
Duet,
was
which
so
I'm
Duet is the episode where of course, the main character, Kira Nerys, or one of the main characters, she's the lead Bajoran officer on the station.
right.
And there is a guy who comes onto the station, and they find out that he's being treated for this disease. And so she hears, oh, well, he's being treated for that disease. The only people who have that disease were the people who were exposed to this mining accident that happened during the occupation on Bajor. And so they're kind of heroes to the Bajor resistance or whatever. So she goes down to see who it is, and she finds out it's a Cardassian. It's not a Bajoran. And that means he had to have been at that prison camp, and so he's a war criminal. And so she immediately has him imprisoned, and there's a whole thing that happens with the episode. Are you familiar with this episode?
I am familiar.
Okay.
I don't remember the resolution, but I remember the episode, and it was
Yeah.
indeed a good episode.
Yes. So it absolutely just incredible acting from the leads in that.
Nana Visitor, whatever her name is.
Nana Visitor, and then also what is it? Harris Yulin, I think is the guy who plays the Cardassian.
Right.
Just top tier acting from both of them. It's so good, and it's a great touching story because the resolution to it is that you find out spoilers for a 30-year-old episode of Star Trek.
Joshua Calkin says, "Don't spoil the ending."
Too late. It's been out for 30 years. The resolution is you find out that he's not actually the person he claims to be, this war criminal who survived despite people, believing that he was dead. And you find out that really he's not. He was a secretary. He was an accountant, but he's been carrying guilt around for all these years over what the Cardassians did on Bajor, and he wants Cardassians to have to face it, to have to deal with it, and also he's got his own guilt that he's trying to deal with. So when she finds out who he is and why he's doing what it is, she lets him go, and he's it's a really touching moment for her to realize that not all Cardassians are evil. And then the final resolution to it is that there's a criminal on the station who shows up and kills him, murders him on the promenade, saying, she says, he wasn't who he said he was. He wasn't this person. He was innocent. And this criminal Bajoran says, he's a Cardassian, and that's enough, right? And she realizes that no, that's it. Just being a Cardassian doesn't make you a war criminal, doesn't make you an evil person. That this guy was actually good. He was actually a good person and was trying to do good in the world. And so it's an incredibly touching episode. Yes, I love that you brought that up. Such a great episode. Yeah, absolutely. It was one that I was on the fence, genuinely. I was on the fence with Deep Space Nine as we were approaching the end of that season. There were some, like I said, some real corny episodes in there. But that episode just blew me away from the very first time I saw it. And I love that. So yeah,
I rather like the show. I mean, I didn't mind it even in its earlier seasons, but I agree that it got better over time.
Oh, did we both get kicked off at the same time? Oh no. Hi there. I hope we're still live. Are you back, Bryce? Uh-oh.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Oh, now I can hear you. Yeah.
Did I get kicked off or did you get kicked off?
I got kicked off, and then I think you got kicked off immediately afterwards.
Oh, okay. Well, hopefully
Yeah.
with us here. Yeah.
Yeah, I think everybody's still here. So
Everybody's still here. Okay.
yeah.
So what I was going to do is I wanted to show the clip before I forget that
Oh,
thing.
your old school. Yeah, your old
Yeah,
school.
it's a private video.
Episode. Yeah.
Now, before I show this, I want to tell you that I haven't seen this in about 5 years. I'm probably going to be like a high-pitched British puppet, and it's not really the same thing that like we're doing now. This was like a little parody sketch that I was doing, that I was trying to do like Mike Zero. And the truth is, when I posted it, even like the 5 people that watched it didn't even know what the parody was about. Nobody got what I remember is nobody understood anything, and somebody's just said, "Hey, you know what? I really like that jingle," and like nobody understood that the jingle was actually like a parody. So I guess the jingle ended up being the jingle, but I'll show it to you. Are you ready?
Yep.
Chat. Hopefully everybody's ready. Okay. So this is the video.
I am such an awesome guy. I make so many videos.
Hello there, Price Hero here. With only 2 months left before the release of Star Wars Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker, many fans are curious to see just how director J.J. Abrams plans to tie up the entire so-called Skywalker saga in one single film. Well, this week, JJ personally promised that Episode 9 will be a cohesive conclusion to the entire story. He's also assured fans, and this is a direct quote, We're not screwing around. Well, I, for one, feel much better now. Thanks for clarifying that, JJ. Now, for those fans who've been concerned about the writing quality of the sequel trilogy, I do have some news that will surely ease your minds. Not only did J.J. Abrams write the Episode 9 screenplay himself, he did so in collaboration with none other than Chris Terrio, the literary mastermind behind the 2016 film Batman vs. Superman. Now, I'm not certain what Chris Terrio will contribute to the Star Wars franchise, but I can only hope that once again, Chris will be bringing us his Midas touch. And now let's talk about the latest leaks from the set of Star Wars Episode 9.
You always talk about leaks and
According
stuff.
to my insights at Lucasfilm, the final act of the film will feature an epic battle between Rey, Kylo Ren, and the Emperor.
I was actually
During
right.
the battle, just when it seems the Emperor has the upper hand, Luke Skywalker, legendary Jedi Knight, will appear as a Force ghost and show him his nutsack. Yes, you heard it here first from me, Price Hero. Luke's nutsack will be making an appearance in The Rise of Skywalker. Now, for those of you who are knowledgeable in Star Wars legends, Luke's nutsack was first alluded to in the 2012 Timothy Zahn book, Choices of Nuts. But this, my friends, will be the first time Luke's magical nutsack will be considered canon. Now, before I go, I'd like to address a controversy that I've recently been involved in. Many of you have been unfairly questioning who exactly is my source for all the leaks that I've been sharing with you. Although I don't make a habit of sharing my sources, on this one occasion, I'm willing to discuss my family business. So, the official source for all of the magnificent leaks that I've been sharing is none other than me, Price Hero. So hopefully we can now put this entire matter to rest. Thanks for joining me, my friends. If you'd like to see more exclusive Star Wars content, please do subscribe to my channel. Thank you, and good day. I am such an awesome guy. I make so many videos.
So yeah, that's what it was. It seems like surreal now and just it's completely dumb and nonsensical. I cringed watching it, but the whole idea was actually it was a parody of a Mike Zero video. I had the dartboard, and he also used to always talk about his leaks and his stupid things. The only difference was that I made like some silly British accent, but the idea was that I was trying to do a Mike Zero video. That was the whole idea of it. Nobody even understood the humor. But
Okay, I'm gonna say it. I think we need Luke's nutsack emote in the chat. Nobody will get it except the few people who are here.
I'll try to find it. Yeah. But you know what? The reason why I did it is because it's hard to recreate the atmosphere when it's like satire. You don't fully feel the atmosphere that existed then. Everybody was speculating as to what would happen in The Rise of Skywalker. Now, Mike Zero had videos every day that he has leaks from inside the set that just told him exactly what's happening. And like I said, the guy is very creative in the sense of just inventing weird crap on the spot. And like, okay, I took it to the extreme with the nutsack and Luke, but like the kind of dumb nonsense this guy would talk in his videos, 100% spot on. Like every single thing that I did in the video, it like aligns with what he used to do. Maybe still does. I don't really watch his videos, but I thought for a 3-minute satire, I thought that it got the job done. I didn't realize that most people either didn't know what his channel was, didn't actually watch his videos, or didn't care. So at the end of it, it ended up being a joke that only I understood. We did get the jingle though. We did that's how we got the jingle though.
That's great.
Who are you trying to mimic that's British? I don't even know. I see the whole reason why for the British accent is that, like I said, initially I thought this would be a channel where this puppet goes around and talks to people. And and then like I'd go and do interviews and things like that. And when I saw the puppet, I said it has to have like a high pitched voice and it has to be British because that's kind of funny. Because if you see some like snooty little puppet walking around and acting like a douche and speaking like with a high pitched British accent, it's comedy. It's like funny. I don't know why I thought this was funny. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But that's what I thought to myself. And then the problem was is that when I started recording, I noticed that I had to commit to it. So like I actually had to sit there and try to speak in a British accent, which obviously I don't know how to do. So it was rather weird
Yeah.
and embarrassing, but yes. Anyhow, that was quite a trip. I don't think you've ever seen that, Professor, have you?
Can you hear me now? Sorry.
I was talking to myself.
No, I
It's
could hear
best.
you, I could hear you, but it was like disconnected on this end. Okay. So, yeah. No, that's fun. Yeah. No.
Oh, wait.
No, I have never seen that before. So, yeah, we got looks like we got a gift from Nerd Wars over on YouTube.
Oh,
A
Nerd
gift
Wars is a friend of mine.
for 5 Price of Reason Live memberships. So,
Wow, Nerd Wars. Thank
thank you.
you.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Erwin. That's really nice of you. Erwin's a great guy.
Yeah.
He has a great channel, Nerd Wars, and every Thursday at 3 p.m. Eastern, I hang out with him and with Angry Badger, and we just shoot the breeze about stuff. So yeah, he's a good guy. You should check out what he does. He's has a lot of interesting things that he does. He's a good editor too. Edits like cool stuff and much better than me. It's funny, once I showed him, like, not on a stream, I showed him a video I did, and, like, the video was, like, 1 minute, but he got bored, like, halfway into the video because I didn't properly edit it. But,
He says I just gift memberships for the compliments. Yeah.
well, yeah,
Well, you earned them. You earned them. We also got another. Let's see. It's not a super chat. Member chat. Ace Hanlon, member for 2 months on Leapers. So yeah, thanks for being a member here, Ace.
Erwin is saying he's supposed to be editing. That's what people at the end, in the middle of the night, they take breaks and watch our stream.
Hey, yo.
I
Yeah.
hope Erwin didn't see that awful video of me from 5 years ago. Now I'm embarrassed. I shouldn't have shown it. Thanks to that video that we do have the jingle.
Yes, we do.
The best thing that happened to me is that I gradually started dropping the accent and also made the voice more normal on my main channel. Like I stopped with all this stuff, but I did it gradually. So if you actually watch my videos, you gradually, like, it's a process. With every video, it's like a little less. This is over the course of a few years. Less Britishy, less high pitch. Like, I just gradually shifted it.
Yep.
But yeah. What do you mean, the dead man, about Price being an Eggman? Am I an Eggman? I don't know.
I am the Eggman, Cuckoo Kachoob.
Right, I am the walrus, exactly. So yeah, there was that. I'm happy that I got to share that with you all. Did we cover a lot of stuff today? I think we covered a lot of things.
Oh, sorry, I was taking a drink. Yeah, we covered covered a bunch of stuff. So yeah, I was trying to think earlier. There was one other gaming related thing. I know what it was. Did you see, Price? Did you see that our most looked forward to game, Assassin's Creed Shadows? Did you hear about what happened?
Wasn't it leaked?
Apparently, a whole bunch of physical copies got into people's hands. We don't know how likely they were stolen or maybe they were misshipped or something. I don't know. But there's a whole bunch of them that were available, and they were being sold on eBay. They were being sold on Facebook Marketplace and stuff like that. So people have now in their hands copies of Assassin's Creed Shadows for PlayStation 5, and I think all the copies that I saw out there were for PlayStation 5. But there's been streamers out there streaming it and everything, and so just one more nail in the coffin of this game. There's a huge leak of a bunch of these games onto the black market, but before the game is even supposed to be ready. And yeah, tons of people out there playing it, streaming it, although a bunch of the streams now have been shut down. Videos that people made, early videos, have been deleted. The publishers been heavily, Ubisoft has been heavily trying to get all of these shut down. So Nerdware says someone didn't update the new release date. I mean, I wouldn't put it past them that somebody just forgot, and so they sent some out or delivered them to some stores early, because the original date was supposed to be Valentine's Day. So yeah, apparently there were a bunch of copies that were up and available for sale on Mercari for $100 a piece, and yeah, there were a bunch of them that were available in Facebook Marketplace and whatnot.
I mean, just out of curiosity, I don't really game much, but I mean, out of curiosity, I'd want to know what's in that game. Is it like a beta version, or is it like the actual final version?
Well, I mean, it's the final version of the game. It's on discs, physical discs. So it's their gold master. Although, a lot of the games today, of course, they ship them out, and then there's always a huge day one patch that changes all sorts of things in the game and updates things, fixes bugs. So they've been saying, don't believe what you see with the game that's out there. It doesn't have all the patches and stuff in it that'll be available on day one to fix all kinds of different issues and stuff. But nonetheless, it's still exactly what we thought it was going to be. It's a black man running around Japan killing a bunch of Asians.
But did they change anything with Yasuke or anything, or they just?
There have been some changes. Of course, we don't know what the original version was, right? We've never seen the original version of the game and that story, but a lot of the major plot points, the character arcs, and stuff like that, gameplay mechanics, all of those things have been leaking out pretty heavily through all the different reviewers that have gotten a hold of it. But again, a lot of this stuff has been pretty heavily censored by Ubisoft. So if you go out and look for it, it's kind of hard to find. These days, since they've been out there shutting.
Were they able to censor it on X or only on YouTube?
They've I didn't actually look for
You don't have to
videos
put it on.
that.
I don't want any, I prefer not to have any issues. I understand it. It's
Yeah.
exactly that type of thing that they're going to sit around and make a big deal of if anybody uses.
I don't know that I hadn't actually looked on X to see if there were any videos that are out there.
It's fine though. I feel like if we show them, they would already find their way to doing
Oh
something.
yeah,
about it.
certainly, yeah.
Don't want any issue with that.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to show it on the stream, but yeah. So Joshua Galkin says they can't fix it. No, they can't. I mean, they can do all the day one patches that they want. They can minimize characters as much as they want. The game is what it is. It's based on a guy who was not a samurai, who there is even scant evidence that he even existed. It was built on a bunch of lies from one academic who decided to write a book and then go around using pseudonyms to pump up his book and act like it was God's honest truth. It's all a scam, and it's all ridiculous that now they're going to have a game that takes place in Japan where the central character is not Japanese. It's pretty pathetic. There's no way they're going to be able to rescue this game. Doesn't matter what they
their
do.
company will survive all of this.
That is the real question: is does Ubisoft actually make it out of this intact? Do they actually survive? There's going to be a whole bunch of money pouring in to a bunch of these studios from probably from China. Although I guess that brings me probably my last thing that I'll mention here. You heard about we talked about the company, the Chinese company NetEase, that they were shutting down some of the development companies over here in the U.S. Specifically, we made the story the other day. We talked about how they were shutting down a part of the development studios for Marvel Rivals. That's
Yes,
been
I remember that.
Yeah, that's been a really big thing recently. A lot of people have been flocking to that game, and kind of amazing. A game doing really well. They're going to shut down studios over here. Well, there's been some news and
Is that the one that
some
they said they were woke and lazy, or is that something else?
Yes,
Oh,
yes,
okay.
it was
Go on, go
NetEase.
on.
Some of the people in China from NetEase essentially said, "Yeah, we're pulling a bunch of our funding. We're shutting down a bunch of these studios, these Western studios, because they're woke and they're lazy and they don't actually give us any output that's worthwhile." So they've been pulling a bunch of money from a bunch of different places, not just that one specifically. One of them that might be on the chopping block is a company called Quantic Dream. I think we've actually talked about this one uh, on the stream before. Quantic Dream, they've made a bunch of different games over the years, but most of them have been very narrative focused games. Their most recent game was what was the name? Detroit Becoming Human. But there were some others that they've had. Beyond Two Souls was actually one that I thought was a great game. Hard Rain, I think was the name of another one. Or Heavy Rain, sorry, Heavy Rain. But they've been working on a Star Wars game called Star Wars Eclipse. And it sounds like Quantic Dream might be the next studio that is going to lose a lot of their funding, a lot of their backing from these Chinese companies like NetEase. And so their sort of the lead of the company came out today and said basically, no, our company's strong. We've got plenty of funding. We're investing in all sorts of stuff, and we're hiring new people and all sorts of things. But that particular project has gotten a lot of flack, the Star Wars Eclipse project, because it was essentially leaked that they had decided there would not be any white male characters in their game. They were going
Wow.
to eliminate all the white male characters from the game. They made
That's
all
a
of the
bold,
characters.
bold strategy, Cotton.
Yes. We'll see. Let's see if this pays off, right?
That ended up being like the best meme ever. Just so you
That
know,
is excellent.
that it's a bold strategy. Cotton is one of the best memes, and it
It is.
covers so much stupid crap that happens.
Absolutely
Who knew that it would be such a good meme? But go
so
on.
good. But yeah, just anyway, it sounds like perhaps maybe this studio, and of course, not only have they made some of these great games, they directly have made some of these great games. Recently, they've also been working as publishers. They were in the news quite a bit as a publisher recently because Quantic Dream is the company that published Dustborn as well. So yeah, I'm not gonna cry too many tears if they're if they're another company that gets shut down, because I'm certain that they've been pretty thoroughly captured by all of the ideology and the activists in their business. So we will see if they manage to survive. But I think there's a lot of these studios, these big name studios, that have they've dug their own graves. They've gotten into bed with China, find all of their funding. They've continued to kowtow to all kinds of activists and ideology, pressing all this stuff into their games. And we've just seen one after another these studios just collapsing under the weight of these incredibly extended development times and just all of the Activision and everything else that's been just rammed into these different games that nobody wants. And yeah, I think now we're done with all this woke stuff, and China seems to be quite tired of putting up with it too. So it's
Yeah, I mean,
interesting.
at the end, money talks. But what I wanted to tell you that was interesting was there was a game called Hyper Light or something like that was tied to Sweet Baby Inc. And they had a community manager called like Yi Zhang, who was an LG activist sorts, and there have been different things with her, and I think in the past something with Caprudis Rambo that she said he was lying, or he said she was lying. I don't even remember. So the reason I'm telling you all this, when I was at Comic Con, I went to this. I've said this a number of times. I went to this gaming panel called. It was the gaming magazine, like GAY magazine, and it was called like the Queer Tea Team or something like that.
Yes.
Something's Queer Tea Gamers. So I sat there in a panel in a very small room that was attended by, in my opinion, almost nobody except for me. That's what made it so surreal. What I've recently seen is that I suddenly saw articles and people claiming that whole Hyperlight game, that it was ruined, something with like Sweet Baby Inc. And
Yes.
I really wanted to take and present video of what happened at that panel. The only problem is that per the guidelines of Comic-Con, you're not supposed to film. It's a gray area because I thought they saw that I was pulled out, like, a phone camera and was filming, but at the same time, I guess it's not allowed. So obviously, of course, I disposed of those videos and I wouldn't put them up anywhere.
No, never.
No, but the thing is that, like, I understand basically based on the legal guidelines there, you're not supposed to show that without their consent. Not to mention that Yi Zhang, whatever her name is like a lawyer. She doesn't help my mood. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I tried actually reaching out to the convention and asked them if as an independent journalist, I could use, snippets that I accidentally took, a few brief snippets, and I don't know. They basically said that it wasn't considered legit. So I'm in a strange situation where I really want to share with the world what I've seen, and I can't do it. I don't know what to do, I guess. Yeah, it's a public space,
Yeah.
but apparently they have all these like things that they have signs and stuff. I didn't even see any of these signs. I had no idea. But apparently, like, it's listed on their website. There's all this fine print when you like buy a ticket. It's listed in the room. Again, the only thing is, if the host allows you, could I claim that the host allowed me to film there? Maybe, but did they? They could claim that they didn't know I was filming, which, accidentally, of course. I mean, they wouldn't have known. I don't know. So I just want to say this, and this is the only thing I can say to everybody here. One of the quotes, and this I know from my notes, I of course didn't film anything and I don't know anything. One of the quotes this Yi Zhang lady had is that in a good company, if you're smart, you make sure that the majority of the people in your company working there aren't straight, aren't white, and aren't male.
Yeah.
Straight white males or something like that. She actually says that. That's like something that she says there, and it would be it's a real shame, I wish she would have said it at a place where, like, they grant you the access to film, 'cause I sure would have wanted to share that with people.
That's real unfortunate that you couldn't share that, Bryce.
No, I really couldn't.
Uh,
I mean,
yeah.
I'm not supposed to. All I can do is just say what she said. I was thinking of what to do, of trying to, like, recreate it with AI. Maybe bring Vex Electronica to voice her. I thought of a lot of different things, but,
Yeah.
I'll try to think about it more. It's kind of annoying. I try to take what I do seriously, and I don't wanna violate things. If there are certain things that are listed that are, rules and things, to go and do, like, the opposite, I don't know. And the other thing is, I mean, look at what happened to somebody like Smash JT, who just sits around and mentions what that lady said on her own feed, and she sued him. So there's a lot of wackos in this field, and, you know you understand what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There's plenty of nuts.
But there's
Yeah.
one part that I know that I am allowed to film, and I guess this will be a good before we do the honors of seeing who's here. I want to share one thing that while we were just playing those videos, I found this other video. Are you ready?
Go for it.
This is from Comic-Con. I actually filmed a lot of footage at Comic-Con and never even made a video. I don't know why I didn't make a video. I think I was very busy. I just didn't have time. Here we are with Francine Delgado. That's you? You're Francine? Here at Price of Reason Studios, we like to promote new artists. How long have you been drawing?
Comics around 10 years.
Relatively new artists.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm doing mostly covers, but this one over here, I did also interiors.
You know what? I kind of like what you're doing here. Some of these covers look nice. I like these ladies.
Thank you. This one over here are my convention specials. I wrote them specifically for this convention. That's why she has an apple, because the big apple. And yeah.
You know, I think my viewers could appreciate something like this.
You can let them know my Instagram. If they know what is my name, Francine Delgado Art.
Francine Delgado Art, and what's your Instagram? Okay. So it's Francine Delgado, and her Instagram is Francine Delgado Art. Thank you so much for talking to us. You have a great day and great convention. See, I'm all about promoting people. And there's no discrimination on my end.
No, not promoting Danny Cates, though. Just skip that one. Just right over.
What'd you say?
Not promoting Danny Cates there. You just walked right past his booth.
Oh, I did?
I just at the end of the booth, at the end of your video, there was another guy there.
Right. No, I didn't. I didn't have time to interview everybody. You know, I was trying to do my best. I wanted to promote new artists.
Yeah, that was nice. That was some lovely art. Yeah, that's pretty cool. She had to do some covers. I knew a guy at one point, it was many years ago, that we worked together briefly. That his real his goal, like lifelong thing, was he wanted to do comic books, and he had gotten the opportunity to do a couple of covers for some small publishers, and then he had some of his art included in an art book that was with it was when they did a big limited edition version of the Batman the Animated Series on DVD. There was a big limited edition one that had like an art book and a whole bunch of other stuff packed in with it, and he ended up getting one of his pieces published in that art book. So I don't know what he's doing these days. He moved away, and we haven't really been in contact. So hope he got to get out and do more of his art. But yeah.
By the way, is the dead man still here? I feel like I want to make sure that we went over all of his super chats. Before that, Tim Hayes says, "Are you from Jamaica, Price? You're sounding a bit like it in this video." I don't think so. No, I'm not. I'm not from Jamaica.
Yeah, man.
And then Six says another fake voice. No, that was actually. I think that was my real voice. I'm trying to think why my voice sounded that way. I may have had a sore throat of sorts. I don't know.
Well, could be a bit of the mic, and the room noise makes things sound a little
yeah.
off.
I sounded a bit weird, but that actually wasn't manipulated in any way. I just was kind of maybe I was trying to talk. There was a lot of like I was trying to talk to people throughout the day. Maybe I was starting to lose my voice. Don't really know. Maybe that's when that happens. I sound like a Jamaican. I want to try to find all the chats and stuff. I want to make sure people saw them. So we started off the Dead Man Price. I watched your KK stream today. You went from talking how great your memory is, then you lost it. Yes, the Big Ship gifted 10 Price of Reason memberships. Very nice of you. Thank you, the Big Ship. Appreciate that very much. The Dead Man. Then you talked about Teen Wolf for a while. I did. Years from now, somehow KK returned. I don't even know if she leaves. I haven't seen her even leaving. But yeah, I guess so. PA Professor R2 Duet is a great season 1 episode. Yes, it is. We talked about it. Ace Hanlon, member for 2 months. Congratulations. And then Nerd Wars gifted 5 Price of Reason Live memberships when he took a break from editing. We appreciate that as well. Erwin's a good guy. Then you have the Dead Man, 99 cents. It's a poop sticker, which we also greatly appreciate. And it actually it's suitable. That's fitting for the type of environment we've created in this place. So I guess we did that, and now maybe we go. Oh no, it got started again. We got kicked out, and then we came back. How do we know everybody that was here, Professor?
Oh goodness.
You're better at this than me.
I am actually working on a solution to this.
You're better than me at like finding the people that were here.
I'm working on a solution. We're gonna try this out, but I'm working on building a Python script in Google Cloud that will collect all the unique names from all the people who join our chat on YouTube. We'll see if it works, but anyway, that's a very, very technical solution here. Oh, we also I do love the poop sticker, Dead Man. Thank you for the poop sticker.
Also, quickly, if you can, make sure to like and subscribe. We say that a few times, but whatever platform you're on, that's also cool if you could do that. But yeah, I trust your plan, Professor.
Yeah, well, I know that we did have a few people around earlier. I know we saw Smilex, we saw Marla Sharondoff, if she's not around anymore. Let's see who else. We look over here on Rumble. We had Pyromancer, Phantomong, Hypno Crab. So there's some regulars that hanging out in the chat here. Let's see. Anybody else that I missed here? Oh, Maroxtro was joining us here over on Rumble. So good to see you, Maroxtro. Make sure I didn't miss anybody over there. A lot of chat over there tonight. Pretty active in the chat over there. Oh, we had Dude Bro Seth 420 that's dropped in, and I think that was it. I don't think I missed anybody over there on Rumble. Glad to see everybody here. Yeah, since we reset, we lost our long record of the YouTube chat. Unfortunately, the YouTube chat, even if you're in moderator chat, like it doesn't keep, it doesn't keep it for a long time.
No, it doesn't keep it.
You only get about 20 minutes worth, depending on how heavy the chat's going. So,
Dude Bro Seth usually has that Cheers Leonardo DiCaprio thing going.
Well, yes. Yeah, we got a couple of those tonight, I think. But yeah, let's see. We of course want to say a big thank you to Adam Gray and Eraserhead, our wrenches out there helping us to manage the chat. We did see there was somebody that came in earlier causing a little bit of trouble, and they managed to take care of that for us. Appreciate it. Empress NM, Joshua Calkins, Tim Hayes, Argentum, good to see you.
Rob Altus says, "Don't mind me, I'm just lurking." We got some people lurking from time to time, I'm sure.
Oh, of course, I'm sure we do. Yeah, in fact, when I was talking with Mark D with a C, he told me that he's often lurking while listening in, while he's finishing up some work in the evening, or doing some 3D printing, or something like that, where he's kind of busy with something else, and he just kind of turns the show on in the background to listen to. So, hey there, Mark.
Six, they're not pros like Tom and Andre. Oh no, is she talking about us? I think.
Oh no, yeah. So yes, 6 is in the chat. I was just about to mention 6. So yeah. Let's see, who else do we have here this evening? Of course, we have the Dead Man. It was great to see you here, the Dead Man. Thank you for the support. Of course, we have the Big Ship, and thank you for your support.
Oh, I get it now. I get it. 6, who pays attention to the details, and she really does, says that I didn't like my own stream. I thought that's kind of isn't that a douchey thing to like your own stream? I don't want to. I mean, I'm happy to like it, but is it like considered bad? That's maybe why I don't usually do it.
It's like liking your own tweet.
Right, exactly. I think that's the mentality that I'm like, I don't want to be like the guy that like nobody liked it, so you're liking it. Maybe that's a weird thing to think, but yeah.
Yep.
All right, you got me, Six. What? I'm an amateur. What can I do?
Let's see. Make sure we got everybody. Stephen Mack, Jonathan Conroy, Captain Palsy. You mentioned Rob Altus.
Stephen Mack is doing housework, but he's still listening.
Still listening.
Is he in Vietnam? Is that Stephen Mack? He's in Vietnam.
Oh, I don't remember.
I think Stephen Mack is in Vietnam. It's now like 2 p.m. and he's doing work in his home. I could be completely wrong. I probably will say that he's somewhere else now because I thought that he said that he was in Vietnam, and then I talked about me going to Laos, which isn't far from Vietnam, but still not the same.
Yeah. Did you see any names in there that I missed, Price?
I don't think so. I think we saw most of them. I think
Yeah.
we did pretty well. Obviously, we had some technical difficulties. If we missed your name, we'll definitely say it next time. We try our best with whatever we can. Sometimes we have little glitches, but Tim Hayes says I always like my own videos and my tweets. Well, that's good to know. Maybe I should adopt that mentality.
It's it's a little bit of self-love, right? Yeah. As Eraserhead says, it feels masturbatory.
Right. I don't want to be like, like an ego, you know what I mean? But yeah, maybe just on a business level, it's right to do it. And also, I don't usually do this, and I should do this more often. I want to thank the mods here, which is Adam Gray and Eraserhead. And yeah, there was at least one kind of strange person here during the evening that I think needed to.
Yeah.
There were a
I
few
believe
things
the
going
word
on here.
maggots was used.
Yeah, I don't know where that guy came from. It's like
Yeah.
sometimes you never know where these people come from.
Oh, they saw Trump in the thumbnail.
In the thumbnail, I see.
Lost their business. Yeah.
All right. Well, what can you do? Listen, and I've said before, it's not like, I personally, it's not that I wish I didn't have to focus so much on politics like we do these days, but it's such a central thing that you can't ignore it. But I enjoyed the times in my life that I didn't have to think, too much about politics.
Yeah. It's unfortunate that we have to spend so much time in our lives thinking about politics.
Right. I mean, there's I feel like it used to be that people used to get together, they used to listen to music together, they used to like do things that were more personal, really connecting on a personal level, being friends, barbecues, watching a game together, doing all this stuff. I know that we're all kind of, we're all part of this same system where we all look at our phones every second and we're looking and we have to be tuned into now what's happening right now, who said what and when, and I do that too. It's not that I'm criticizing other people. I'm just saying that there was a time, and I'm so happy that we had those years in our lives that none of that was happening. It used to be much more relaxing. People used to just chill out because you didn't have to know every thing every second. You didn't have to be here. You didn't have to be there. You just kind of hung out and relaxed. I don't know. Life used to be more relaxing than it is now.
True. Yep.
But yeah,
very much.
I mean, again, I'm a hypocrite because I'm doing all the stuff that I just said that was not good, but it's almost like I have no choice. I mean, what am I going to do? It's the only thing I could do is I could try and kind of like decide I'm taking a break. I get up, I go somewhere remote, like off the grid, and I just sit there. That's probably fun. That's probably a fun thing to do. I'm probably not going to do it, but it's fun. Anyhow, I think that on that positive note, is there anything else you want to say, Professor, before we
No, I
sign
think we
off?
talked about a lot this evening. I think we covered a lot of different subjects. So yeah.
We covered the subjects we wanted to, and we didn't go all over the place. I feel like we
No,
were pretty focused.
we almost stayed on topic tonight. It's pretty impressive.
Almost. There were a few little twists and turns, but for the
Yeah.
most part, I thought we were pretty much sticking to the topics we wanted to discuss.
Yeah. I think the chat was conspiring against us, trying to get us to go off on tangents
The
tonight.
chat was great. I think that every time we have a stream, the chat only gets better. especially kind of the core people that we see here every stream or almost every stream. I like the atmosphere here, and you know the stream is fun when we're having fun and we're hanging out with you guys, and there's sort of a feeling that we're all kind of hanging out. I always like that feeling. That for me is kind of what streaming. I don't want to know if to say it's what it's all about, but it's one of the things that I like about it. So I guess
6.
what did she say? I think it's nice the professor lets Price on his show every week. It's very kind of him, yes.
Yes.
Anyhow, I guess on that positive note, we can sign off.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say goodbye to everybody here. Bye.
Yep. Take care. Have a good week. We'll see you Thursday.
See you Thursday at 11:45 p.m. Eastern. Bye.